Test. Okay. Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, February 24th, 3 p.m. It's maybe 3:01 at this moment. I'm going to call our town council work session for February to order. If you will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you so much. We will start the afternoon with Town Manager Reagan Parsons' comments.
Thank you, Mayor Clement. Pretty straightforward. You've got quite a few presentations today. We do have before you a number of items that we're going to request hopefully some votes on, beginning with the long negotiated Sandhill Bogies user agreement. And we'll ask Greg to come forward here shortly to talk a little bit about that. We also have the train depot lease in front of you this afternoon that Attorney McCarley has been working on for some time. You had a conversation about this back in October when Mr. Kevin Drum had put in an interest in renting that train depot lease, the former 305 trackside, for those that may be wondering what that building is. We've got a budget amendment that Tess Brubaker Spies has brought forward. This is a result, again, of working with our new auditor, and it's simply closing an existing account that has a number of completed projects now in it and reopening a second account for some future projects. And then we have a resolution setting a public hearing for an annexation petition. And then finally, you'll have a presentation on the findings from our AIA water and sewer asset management planning. You may recall this was a couple of grants that we were awarded under the former ARPA funding. So part of that will be just a walkthrough of what some of the findings were and a capital improvement plan resulting from that. And we will ask for adoption of both the capital improvement plan and the asset management plan so that we can close up that project and be finalized with those ARPA grants. Following that, we'll just have some open discussion, one regarding an American 250 Patriots marker. We'll talk a little bit about the status of the town hall, was just over there this morning, and we'll talk about that. Then I wanted to begin or initiate some conversation about what council's long-term desires are relative to both 125 Southeast Broad, the admin building, and then also the finance building, old library on the opposite side of the tracks. Finance staff will provide a mid-year financial update, and then Assistant Manager Roth will talk a little bit about the Sustanovates and how that has gone this budget year in advance of talking in April at our retreat about next year's budget. And then Director Grieve will give the planning department update and give you an idea of what's coming your way in March from a planning perspective. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor, for any questions, or we can move forward with the agenda.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, before we move on, I do want to recognize everyone in the audience. We don't have a big crowd for our work sessions very often, so thank you guys for being here. We don't have public comments, so if there's anything that you would like to say and don't have the opportunity, grab one of us during break or after the meeting. But thank you guys for being here. All right, moving on to action items. First, we have our Sandhills Bogies user agreement. Are we going to have Mac present? Perfect.
You have the tag team.
It's the dream team right there.
We put a memo in your agenda packet that I hope gave you the big picture basics on it. If there are any particular items you want to ask about the lease issues, I'll be glad to handle those. And if you want to talk about how we think it's going to actually operate, Greg,
Okay, I think
what can we do for you?
the only question I had was on the operations side about the renting the facility, almost like a subletting, and how we avoid confusion on, it says when not reserved for the town or the Bogies. So just trying to figure out how we don't step on each other's toes if they have that possibility. And I'm interested in more of the revenue share information.
All right, let me answer the legal half of the scheduling.
Okay.
we always have priority for open times. There will be an agreement between the Bogies and the Parks and Recreation Department about times they know they have things scheduled, particularly seasonal stuff. So all that will be set out before any particular season. Then there are open times. We have first right for any of the open times.
Schedule later. Okay.
If those open times get picked up by some other private group that wants to rent the facility, then it's rented. But what the Bogies will be doing is handling that rental agreement for us. So they are managing the field.
Okay.
So that would be, I know sometimes there's, not rec teams, but independent teams that are always looking for ball fields. They still, I mean, obviously it's going to be minimal gaps of time, but if they find one that they could use, that still would allow them to rent the field for a practice, assuming nobody else was using it.
Yeah, except the only difference being they contact the Bogies instead of contacting us. Yep.
For just that field.
Yep, for just there at Armory.
Mayor, you had a second question.
My second, I mean, I don't know that we have, there's maybe more information, but it was a revenue share on naming rights, just information on that. Or
What
how
we
it was.
negotiated with them is a deal that for the first 5 years, they get to keep any revenue they get from a naming rights deal.
Okay.
However, we get approval rights over the name that's put on the field. And we've put in there some pretty standard language about things we don't want.
Okay.
And we've made that plain. And Alec didn't have any problem with any of that. After year 5, if there is a naming rights deal, and if there's not, we may go try and put one together, then the money gets plowed back into the field. It doesn't go to the Bogies. It's not general fund revenue. It gets plowed back into the field.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah. I just got a quick question. I don't know who to direct it at. Two, really. Maintenance of the field, in season, out of season, baseball's, it's a growing phenomenon here in the Sandhills.
Yeah, so the way we're going to do this, so the field as it exists now, we're going to continue the maintenance that we're currently doing. So with the exception being the infield. So with the Bogies coming in, they're going to redo and make it a grass infield. Definitely going to be a much better playing surface for our leagues, which still get to happen out there, which is great. Our team, our Parks and Grounds team, is going to continue maintaining the mowing of the field as the schedule they have now, because that matched what the Bogies were already doing anyways, and it prevented them from having to go put extra buildings on the property with equipment for them to have to manage and that sort of thing. And then anything that occurs in the infield, Bogies are going to be responsible for. So when we have baseball, we send them a schedule. They have it, they line it, they prep it, they make sure the infield's ready to go. And we do all the maintenance, spraying, weeding, treatments of anything that might come in there, that sort of thing.
Awesome. I'm sorry, I did have two more questions. The other one is, I know we talked about it, and I was looking for it. Long term, there is an opportunity, or there's a plan where the Bogies will provide opportunities to engage our youth. We got, youth baseball in this area is nuts in a good way. So just something to think about. Obviously, we're not going to solve here at this meeting. I know you probably talked about it because you got a great reputation on the details. But my last question was this, and I don't know, Mayor, if I'm allowed to ask this question, so if Mac yells at me.
Check with our attorney before you ask questions like that. I don't know.
Because I don't think we've really solved this problem yet. One of my first sessions here, we talked about alcohol, and baseball and all that. So there is a deliberate plan, coming from the college where the Bogies currently are. I know there's some hurdles to overcome, and I'm assuming that's all taken care of. And nothing like a hot dog and a Dr. Pepper or something a little stronger. It's just
Selling beer is a critical element of the finances for a summer league baseball team.
absolutely.
So it matters to them, and they're making a pretty significant investment in this deal.
And here's the legal question: How does that affect us as a town? I know what our goals are based off of the meeting we had about potentially allowing some of our facilities the ability to, and I know we said we're going to go ahead and maneuver that down the road. Does that affect them in their first season, or do you think we'll have resolution
We'll have resolution.
Awesome. I love
They
it.
aren't going to play on that field until the 2027
Right.
season. So
Yeah, I
we've
read
got,
that.
we've got a year to work out all of the details. But yes, we will expect them to insure against any liability, but we probably will too.
Right. And just a side question. I'm sorry, ma'am. Do you think this will help us? Do you think this helps the town with sort of after action reviewing the process to get this approved there, where we could pick this up and use it for different types of venues in other locations, say if we wanted to do something downtown? I would hate us for the staff to have to go through double work. You know, let's approve it here, just at this park, and then not at this park. And, you know, I might be well out of my my squiggle
I was
box.
going to say, if I may, I think our intent is to bring back a plan regarding that topic and multiple sites, at which time council could make the decision to adopt for multiple sites or maybe just try in various places. But the intent would be to craft it in such a way that if a decision were made to add something down the road, it's a very simple insertion and not a complete rewrite of the code at that point. So.
But absolutely want to make it clear that this agreement requires us to make whatever changes are necessary to allow the bogies to sell alcohol.
Right.
Part of their financial plan.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I love it. Baseball in the Pines.
So, first of all, thank you for my vocabulary lesson. I never had heard of force majeure, so I appreciate that. Learned something new. And what I understand to be a force majeure would be, for example, a pandemic or a war or something beyond a natural disaster, because other parts of the contract cover natural disasters. So, God forbid we have to deal with one of those. I bet Mr. Payton knew the definition of that. Do you know about force majeure? Dang. Dang, yeah. It's so fancy. I'm so proud of you. Great. Okay, so my next question, I'm sort of chronologically going through the contract if you want to tag along. Requires to move on. So my next question has to do with the marked through J on page 2 of the agreement, page 8 in the packet. And it was, we plead that this lot be used as a grass lot and not required for us to pave or gravel the lot similar to Oak Island operation if you need a reference. And my question may be more to Reagan or to the planning department. I would be really interested in giving them what they want, which is a grass lot that people pull in and out of, and that we don't have a sedimentation issue that results from taking Paradise and putting up a parking lot. So talk to me about everybody's thought pattern and why we did not say, yeah, let's do that for a while.
We left it in, even though they have no intention of doing it anytime soon.
We left it in, meaning we left what? What is it?
We left in the ability to let them use that outer area, but they don't want to do it. It's more expensive to meet our requirements than they think they'll ever want to do.
Meaning that we're not paving over the grass area right now that borders public housing.
We are-
And so if they did want to use that, they would have to pursuant to the UDO. Am I correct in believing that?
My memory is that it would have to be gravel or better.
Yes, Southern Pines has a parking code that requires parking to be treated in a variety of ways. Their options are in the UDO.
Okay, and how often would there be a ball game? How often would that be an issue? Is that a once every 2-week thing?
I think it's 20 games.
Yeah, I don't know their current schedule, but it would probably end up being about several games a week. I mean, there's going to be weeks where they're playing away for multiple games and there's
Right.
a break on site, but
And then they'd come back and do a bunch of okay. I'd be really interested. I mean, I know that the Campbell House, once a year when they do the Tour de Moore bike ride around the county, we take up the Ballards, which no longer exist apparently, and people park on the lot, on the grassy area, and to no real problem or no real issue. And I wondered about the schedule of how often we would do that and whether we might leave some grass.
Yeah, versus once a year, this would be multiple games a
Right.
week. And if you had a period of rain, it could make for muddy conditions
Right.
and all of those types of scenarios.
And I'm assuming that people far smarter than I am have looked at topo maps, and would there be, if there was a lot with asphalt, would there be drain off onto the field issues? Does anybody know that?
If a lot were to be paved there, for lack of a better term at this stage, there would have to be stormwater
Okay.
worked into that, yes.
So the way the contract currently exists is they're not going to use that right now for parking, but if they did, they would have to pave it and comply with UDO.
Gravel or better, but it's expensive, and my guess is it's not going to happen.
Okay. Let me figure out my own note. Tony, party agreed to commercially reasonable rate. She roughly equivalent the cost. I think I'm okay with that. So the other thing that says, and I'm on now on the next page on, gosh, what is that? It looks like another J1. Anyway, no games, practices, or special events shall conflict with the Moore County Farmers Market that takes place on Thursdays year-round at Armory Park. Agreed. But then later on in your chart, you've sort of contradicted yourself where you say these are the times that they'll have access to it, and it includes the times of the, it says Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sandhills Bogies have access to Armory Field. Talk to me about that conflict.
Yeah, that's there so that way they can get in and do field maintenance and things like that. It doesn't mean book actually activating the space.
Okay, cool. And is that clear to everybody? Because that was certainly not clear to me.
Yeah, by identifying that they can't use it on that Thursday, they should.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
meet
think
that
you think
requirement.
that's going to preempt the other? That makes it a little. That's a little tough if people wanted to fight about it. You've sort of answered my question on liability because I was wondering about liability. I know that they are under contract to provide insurance, but I think that somebody would say, "Oh, the town has deeper pockets," and it sounds like you are well aware of that and have addressed it.
And we will still own the property. We're not leasing it to them, we're not selling it to
Right.
them. We have a management agreement, so
Right.
anybody who sued would likely sue both of us.
Exactly. Yeah, having lived that dream. Then game day operations, it says game day operations, the use of trailer, I'm on Porta-Johns now, sorry, I'm not keeping you up with me. I'm on game day operations 7, Article 7A. It doesn't say anything about removing the Porta-Johns or cleaning the Porta-Johns. I mean, are we going to have constant Porta-Johns on site? What's happening? Do we have any rules about that?
When we put that in there, it was just to identify that the septic that's currently on site wouldn't be able to handle. the
Correct.
load
I understand
of
that problem, and we need to probably address the fact that it might be a good idea to consider sewer lines going into a ball field.
Yeah,
Just saying.
and we've spoken with that at some point down the line. If it's an
Right.
upgrade to the field, that we would have that conversation with them. But as far as Porta-Johns, most of the services that they would hire to have those there are responsible. They come in and clean them and make sure they're ready to go for whatever the next game day would be.
So we're talking about permanent Porta-Johns, most likely.
During the, I wouldn't call it permanent, seasonal would be probably, yeah.
Seasonal Porta-Johns. How are we all feeling about that?
What's the issue? I'm just thinking from a coach's perspective.
Right.
Having clean Porta-Johns is probably important.
Yeah.
Am I missing something, ma'am? I don't mean to be.
No, I appreciate your
Snarky.
question. I mean, I'm wondering if we want to have, again, if they're doing games in a series of days, it makes sense to have a set of Porta-Johns that are there. It doesn't make sense to me to leave them there all summer. The stench and the ugliness of them
Seasons.
would maybe not be exactly what we're going after there.
We're not going to be the ones putting them out there. And my guess is, and what we've also asked them to do is look at the trailer style, so it's not the
Right.
little
Yeah, I know what you're talking
front-size
about.
cabinets.
Right.
It'll be something a little bit nicer, and my guess is that they will leave them out there most of the summer rather than haul it in, haul it out.
Do we want to consider any language that asks for requirements for removal of the same during the season, or do we want to have some sort of protection there for ourselves if that is a public nuisance? Is there something that we'd like to perhaps add there to protect homeowners who live, or renters who live right there? You've covered utilities. That was my next question.
That's
And-
actually a pretty big get for us. They're going to cover all of the
I saw that.
utilities,
No,
not-
yeah, and I appreciate that. And obviously, you've worked long and hard, and I don't mean to indicate otherwise. I thank you for everything you've done.
We're not paying for the use or the utilities.
Right. And I want to swing back around to the sewage question, which may be more of a Reagan question than Anyone else? Or maybe it is a James question and he's back there unsuspecting that I would call on him. He's trying to hide now in the audience. Would the infrastructure that's in place, to which we would need to connect to make sewage active at the ball field and to update the system, would that infrastructure, if we went in after the fact and said, oh, we really do need sewage into there, we need more than a septic tank, would that upheaval of the earth in order to make that happen also be an upheaval of the ball field?
James and I have looked at this multiple times. There is not one easy, good route to the particular site in question, and the
That's-
topography is quite interesting.
I will say the sewer will come from the southwest. There's
Give me a landmark. I'm not going to be good at picturing the Southwest. Please, thank you.
this area. So,
I just heard PJ go,
yeah, nothing's pulling up, but this is the Pinehurst Medical area over here. This is the new Carolina Parkway.
Okay,
Couple of options. We could bring sewer from the new stuff over here, or we could bring sewer from this area.
and tell me, and point on the map, please, around the picture, what the route of the new sewer line would be then.
Depends on which option you take,
Right.
but generally you're going to end up following Morganton Road.
And when you say following Morgan Road, you mean going completely, right next to it? Is that right? Because you're not going to dig up Morganton Road, or are you thinking about putting the sewer system under the road?
No, DOT would not let you put it under the road.
Thank you.
So, but there is room. You can see we've got the Greenway Trail running
Right.
through there. Now, we might put it under the Greenway Trail, but you can put the Greenway Trail back.
Okay,
The other alternative, again, depending on options, we also have sewer up here. The issue with bringing sewer here is it would require something to pump.
so that would be an uphill battle, and this would be a more practical coming off of Morganton Road Greenway, is that right?
It's, easier, cheaper up front, better in the long term.
I vote for long term, yeah.
The upfront expense is why that's not in today's consideration.
Exactly.
I'll point out one thing that will come up if this parcel develops.
Right.
Sewer will become something they've got to also work on, and that might be opportunity for partnership or something there also.
All right, and at what point will we know, somebody talked to me about the septic tank. And James, you shouldn't sit down yet, but talk to me about the septic tank and what needs to be done and how we maintain that and make sure we don't have a sewage disaster on the property. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to have more people at a Bogies game than we would ever dream of having.
Well, that is how the conversation about the Porta Johns trailers came
Right.
up, because
Right.
obviously it has functioned for many years for the Parks and Rec Department and how we are utilizing it.
Exactly.
We don't want to overburden it with the schedule of the season, and thus the reason for the temporaries, so that we
Understand.
don't get into that.
Right, and how often is the septic tank currently cleaned out and
I'm not sure, and I could be wrong, and I think they're cleaned every day, depending on the type of contract that they set up with that particular company.
I don't know the answer.
Porta Johns, not the septic
I'm on the
tank.
septic tank
Yeah.
now.
We'll have to check with our facilities team. Darren and his crew are in charge of scheduling that sort of stuff, so we'll find out.
Okay. And
Question is going to be, per this user agreement, are there specific issues where, and if this is wrong, correct me, but Porta John condition or septic condition is going to create a liability for us? And if it's not, and that's already handled in the agreement, maybe.
right, and those are just like red flags that went up for me, and I think sometimes, cheap is expensive, so I wanted to make sure we were thinking about the long haul, and if it makes sense to deal with infrastructure, we should deal with infrastructure.
We did not get that deep.
Okay.
We got far enough along to know that neither of us wanted to pay the cost of running a sewer line
Right.
now.
Right,
So we did the best we could to come up with something that will work for a while. If we turn out to have a problem, it is in both our best interest and the Bogies' interest to solve it as quickly as possible.
okay. Yeah, understandably, because that would be disgusting. Okay, policies, B. The way it reads right now is the Bogies have control. I know that they have control as referred to above, which I agree with. as far as access to the facility, and this does not say with the exception of the town, and I think that it should. I think it's made clear in other parts of the contract, but they should not have control over whether or not, denying or controlling access to the facility as it regards the town. You think you feel covered in other parts of the contract?
I do, because it's not a lease to them, it's a management agreement.
Right.
So we still own it.
Okay.
We own it and control it, except to the extent of giving them some management rights.
Okay.
I'm confident, very confident, we still have
All right,
access to it.
I would add think about throwing this out there as a possibility, and you know what you're doing. On 9 policies B, I would say with the exception of the town, but whatever. On number 3, under D, in that same section, tree removal is the sole discretion of the superintendent, and can you identify superintendent for me as far as, do you mean the head of the Parks and Rec? Is that-
Yeah, that'll be Graham Purcell, our park superintendent.
Okay. Can we be a little bit more specific with, that's the first time we've seen superintendent, which is not defined in the contract. So I would love that to fix. And the appeals to decisions and termination of agreement, having been through lawsuits before where there comes a huge battle in regard to who the mediator will be because there's a concern about bias, I would love for that to just say under 13C, it is a mutually agreed upon mediator, so that we don't have one side trumping the other, if you will, or saying, no, we have the power to do that. I think both parties, if it comes down to, which hopefully it won't, but if it does come down to a disagreement, a legal disagreement, I would love for that to say a mutually agreed upon mediator.
In North Carolina, if you're picking a mediator, it has to be
Has
by
to be
mutual
mutually agreed
consent.
upon, yeah. You feel like that's going to cover that.
Well, until about 2 months ago, I was a certified mediator.
I too have been a certified
Yeah,
mediator, and,
So I think we're good.
right, I understand. But I would say that you would not be the certified mediator they would
I
choose
would
in this
not.
case.
No, I would not. We might operate.
All right, and finally, tell me the history of the language that was stricken regarding grandstand bleachers. They say we'd ask that the grandstand bleachers that we initially install are allowed to come with us if we leave. And that's been stricken. Why has that been stricken? It kind of seems like a fair thing to the Bogies to allow them to remove their bleachers if need be.
The bleachers will at that point be 10 years plus whatever age they have on them now, and they were agreeable to leaving them with us.
Okay, will they be affixed to the ground, I guess? I don't know what kind of bleachers they are.
I think it says installed.
Seen them, but most of them are. They have a concrete pad that they're anchored in,
Right,
so
okay.
it prevents it falling over.
So they were at peace with that. Okay. I'm trying to,
These were actually very easy and cordial to deal with, and
sounds like they've
are-
been wonderful, and I'm looking forward to going to my first Bogies game. I'm confused on the assignments of essential functions. I think you sort of addressed it, but it has both parties taking care of things, and hopefully that is people smarter than myself who understand that. And otherwise, I am at peace with that. And I appreciate how hard this probably was, even though you were dealing with another party that was really easy to deal with. It's hard to anticipate everything that might come up and to address it. So nicely done. Thank you.
I just had an operational question. I wasn't going to ask this, but we're deep into it, so I figured I was well. And the only reason it came to mind, I'm deep in kid baseball at the moment personally. They're going to construct a field with the nice grass infield, a permanent, not the little turf mound, a permanent 60-foot, 6-inch mound, and then the grass infield. So will this only be conducive to 90-foot base? Or will it be modifiable so that if you needed to put a mound in front of their mound and then use bases that are not 90 feet, it'll be usable?
Yeah, we'll tell them that base distances for the leagues that we have out there regularly, and then you couldn't add a mound unless it was a portable one, but we'll have the ability to drop a portable mound in front.
And they're okay with all that? Okay.
And that is why you are a force majeure. In a good way.
Deborah, do you have any specific questions we have yet to cover? Okay. All right.
And with y'all's permission,
Yes.
if you adopt it today, I will ask the bogies to add, with the exception of the town, to section 9B,
Okay.
and to define superintendent
Okay.
in the tree removal section.
So then you need a motion to approve it as amended, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Approve the agreement as amended by Mac's comments.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. What a exciting thing that, yeah, to have a baseball team coming to
great.
town soon, yeah. We're excited to see what happens to the field and to attend games. Yep, I think so too. Okay, moving on to our second action item, the Seaboard Station, our train lease. Do you want me to postpone it and give,
I spoke with Assistant Manager Cameron before the meeting. He has spoken with Mr. Drum, and I think he's ready to
okay,
discuss, but Kevin is good with everything that
Okay,
has
we're not
been
waiting for
presented to
Kevin?
date. No.
okay. Second dream team. All right.
As the manager said, Kevin was unable to be here today. He has reviewed the contract. He is good with it as stated. He is still in the design phase of the project. He is in the process of providing us some additional detail on how it's going to operate. I'll either have that today or tomorrow. His tentative goal is he can't get his contractor in the building until probably April 1st. He is looking for an April 1st sign of the contract, and then a June 1 opening date is what is currently planning.
Okay. All right, council, do you have questions? I'll start just in case you're not ready. Is there a, some sort of inflation index on this if it gets renewed? I think,
We've had that conversation, but I haven't had that conversation with Mr. Drum.
okay,
Manager, have you?
I have not.
We have not.
And as you know, the contract is, while he's in there prepping, construction is $1,000 a month, and then as soon as he opens, it goes to $3,000.
I'm not worried about, I guess I'm
You're
not worried
talking
about the
about
5 years, I'm
long
worried about after, like the renewal afterwards. Can we build that
Yeah.
in, or can we check
And
with
it's,
him?
I believe it's a 2-year period and then
Then
a
5 years.
renewal, and that
Okay.
might be the place you would want to insert something.
I mean, I'd be comfortable with putting something in there and then even having a max so that if it ends up being the 1980s again, we're not looking at a 20% increase, but
May I suggest? Let's propose back to Mr. Drum a 3% increase each year, starting with the 5-year renewal after the first 2 years. Let's let him get through proof of concept.
okay, I'm fine with that. Are there other questions?
I did have a question, only because this is pretty much new. I think this came up before I was on the council, so if it's already done, sir, just say,
Just right
I
before, I
got you.
think.
But my only question is, and I was looking all day today, what analysis has been conducted regarding the impacts related to alcohol, service hours, police, all the safety issues that go with putting I'm for it. I love the concept, everything I read about it. Not to tip my hand if it mattered, but those are some of the things that I worry about. We're going to put another, and that's right in the middle of the main thoroughfare downtown. And I'm pretty sure you have the answer, but I was just, if you could give me a warm fuzzy walking out the door, I'd be real happy.
So this has already been, prior to this, it was known as 305 Trackside, and it was an event
Right.
venue which served alcohol. We have a process within the town that goes through a permitting process for them to use that, which included that alcohol license and managing alcohol. Police are involved in those things. The police chief, and I've already discussed this, he's well aware of it. And I don't want to speak for the police chief.
Oh, I know, I
But
get it, I
this
get
is,
it, yeah.
this is normal business to them. They don't see this as being an issue. They didn't have it at any other bar downtown, if you would.
So basically, we just picked up the zoning compliance from the 305 trackside, laid
Yep.
it on top of this and
Exactly.
said,
Yes,
we're
sir.
good to go. So everything with ABC and all that other stuff,
Yeah.
all secure?
Yeah. And Mr. Drum If you don't know me, this is his wheelhouse. He's very well versed with ABC and licensing processes.
Awesome.
That, as you may know, the state process actually does make it go through, not the council, but it goes through our staff for
Right.
review and sign off on. There are 4 signatures that have to go on that from town staff before they can get their license. So that's very common that we do
Yeah.
on a regular basis. So yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. I was just curious because, it's, this is my first rodeo with this thing going in downtown. The other question, and I don't know if you have the answer, sir, but, I mean, this is pretty much a hot commodity. It's a nice spot in town. What's the feedback from the community regarding, this new facility, putting sort of this, do we have any feedback or do we have any ideas on what the community is thinking writ large, or we're,
Hearsay, from what I've heard,
I was like more than just hearsay because we had information like open sessions that looking for recommendations. Yeah, but finish what you were saying. I didn't mean to
So
interrupt.
hearsay on the street, we actually had an open house when we were trying to get someone to buy into that. We've heard a lot of positive, at least I've heard a lot of positive. I don't know
Yeah.
what someone else may have heard, but we've heard quite a bit of positive from people that are very excited about it and interested in it.
I think that's great because it's one of those wins for the town, so to speak, is we create our business model, and that is to provide the community what they're asking for. This is definitely a win if that's the feedback we're getting, so
And
I
also,
appreciate that
I mean,
opportunity.
That open houses were almost a request for proposal.
Yep.
And this was the only thing that asked to go in there, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Are there other questions?
So do we feel like we're covered if Mr. Drum decides he wants to open this on the 15th of May, then we would just prorate out 1/30th of 3,000? Are we cool? Are we okay?
This was a unique section to write.
Right, no doubt,
Because
yeah.
I was trying to give him an upfit period that was not at full rent. because
Correct,
that's
so the $1,000, right, understood.
the conversation that they had with him. And that as of the time he opens,
Right.
it bumps up to 3,000.
Right.
And we tried to prorate. So we don't need to be in his business about how long it takes to upfit or what date he plans
Right.
to open, just so we have an agreement about it. So the goal was to prorate it based on when he starts, when he finishes, when he opens.
Right, so if he wants to open on the 15th of May, he would then need to pay us $1,500 for the second half.
rest of May,
Rest of May,
but he
and then
would have paid
everything would
us-
be due on the 10th, yeah.
He would have paid us
Okay.
$34 a day for
Yeah,
the
I
first half of May.
don't envy you writing that section, thanks. That's good, that's all I have.
So this is also going to be, if we approve it, it's also going to be as amended pending approval by the lessee.
My guess is that a 3% annual increase starting in the
Third year.
third year will not be an upsetting issue.
Okay. Comfortable with this?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that if there's a motion.
I would make it if I could find it. Phil, help me out. Go ahead.
To approve the lease as amended by the attorney.
Yeah, I have a motion to approve the lease as amended by the attorney, Mac.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you guys so much. All right, third, our budget amendments for closing the water treatment process modernization fund and opening the water treatment process modernization fund 2, phase 2 fund.
As stated before, this is an existing fund. It has, we have done a number of upgrades at the water treatment plant over the last 4 or 5 years this has been in existence. So we're kind of at a neat little tidy phase where we've completed a lot of projects and we're on the front end of starting some others. So it's an opportunity to close the fund, amortize everything out, let Tess and her staff do their thing with the capitalization, and then open a new fund so we can do clean accounting moving forward on the new projects. So no additional funds being transferred in or anything. It's just closing one and moving the remaining funds over to a new fund.
Okay. Are there questions? Okay, hearing none. If there is a motion.
I'll move to approve the budget amendments regarding the closed water treatment process modernization fund and open water treatment process modernization phase 2 fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. All right, and we have resolution 1145, setting the public hearing date for annexation, petition AX-01-26 at 609 Clark Street. Is there any information that, or do you all have questions, or are you guys okay with just setting that date? Is there anything additional from the packet?
This is the one that you previously asked your clerk to look at. Everything is now in place. I think she got the last of the necessary information last week. So we just need to set the public hearing, hold the hearing, and unless there's some objection, complete the annexation.
Okay, perfect. All right, is there a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 1145 regarding the setting of a public hearing date for annexation petition AX-01-26.
Is there a second? All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So the public hearing is our next
Regular business meeting.
regular. Okay, perfect. All right, now we have our last action item tonight is the adoption. Oh,
It's the 24th at 3.
session. Okay, I'm actually
Sorry.
glad I asked.
Like a month from today. Are we a month from today?
Okay.
So,
That it is the work
That's okay.
session because of the notice time.
oh, and then do,
I'll ask you later. That'll remind me.
or, so we're okay just voting on that at the work session, having it be an extra action item? Okay, all right, perfect. Will it be a public hearing? Is it a public hearing?
Which we,
I know, I don't love to have public hearings at the work session, but, okay. All right, as long as everyone is good with that, we'll keep it. It's a minor issue, so I don't see it being a problem.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, unless there's other issues, we will move on to the adoption of the Water and Sewer Asset Management Plan. Good afternoon.
yes, thank you, everybody. I'd like to introduce Eddie Staley. He is with the engineering firm Withers Ravenel. They are the ones who originally assisted us with obtaining the grants to perform the 2 AIAs, and they've subsequently performed all of the work up to date. As Reagan mentioned, this is really just kind of a brief overview of what the documents, kind of what the work they did to get us to this point, kind of summarizing the results of what they found, and then asking for adoption of that asset management plan and CIP so that we can close the project out with the state. So with that, Eddie, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. There are several slides. I'm going to hit the highlights. And if there's anywhere you would like to dive in deeper, we'll have time for questions at the end. And certainly, I would love to entertain those questions. So just kind of starting off, we're going to start in the sewer side. With the sanitary sewer, this was really focused on the collection system itself, so the manholes, the force mains, et cetera. And I want to kind of start with what is that AIA? And ultimately, that is the Asset Inventory and Assessment, a program that was funded through the state. And it really is to help communities understand what the investment needs are for water and wastewater because it is such a critical asset for our communities. The outcome of that is to develop what is called an asset management plan, or an AMP. I'm sorry, as an engineer, we like to use acronyms all the time. I'll try not to do that, but an asset management plan. And really that is giving you a roadmap of what kind of policies do you make, of how do you make decisions, how do you prioritize projects, how do you understand what your real capital investment needs are to be able to maintain that particular asset. And so that was one of the outcomes from this particular project. As we move down, if you could just kind of let him follow along, I think we're here. Yeah, we're going to be on page 7. Yeah, so as, next slide down, actually. Yep. So again, sort of the overview of the sewer section. Again, these are 2 individual grants. One was for the water system, one for the sewer, focused on sewer at this moment in time. One, it was to update all of your GIS, your Geographic Information System. By the way, fantastic staff, really good data. Data is extremely important in this area. So again, I can't say anything but just great things about the staff that we've worked with throughout this project. So the GIS is now up to date. There are always things we find that we did not know exist. James can attest to that, but to the best of our ability, that is properly mapped at this moment in time. The other thing that was created was a hydraulic model, and a hydraulic model is really critical for engineering staff to understand the impacts on the sanitary sewer system as growth happens. How does growth affect the capacity in the system. That now exists, and it is a calibrated model tied back to flow meter data. The other thing that happens is we complete a risk analysis. And as I'll dive into as we go through, risk is defined as likelihood of failure times consequence of failure. And I'll hit those key factors in a moment. But the main point of that risk is so you can understand where those challenges may exist. Staff can prioritize based off of that. And again, it gives us a roadmap of how this looks moving forward. Next slide. This is just a quick overview of all the pipes and things that are underground, 151 miles of sanitary sewer. Again, this is, in general terms, about a $250 million asset just in the gravity lines and the sewer lift stations themselves. Again, a very valuable asset for the community and something that that is going to always require rehabilitation and maintenance to be able to maintain the value of that. On the next slide, you'll kind of see sewer system likelihood of failure. And one of the things I will say here just really quickly, I've had the personal pleasure of working with staff in the town of Southern Pines for probably over 30 years in the engineering side. And those that are here today and those that came before have done a fantastic job managing and maintaining the infrastructure here at the town. And I commend this council and all the staff for all the work that you do, the investments that you make. I can tell you in many of the towns that I go to, the story I'm about to tell you is nowhere near this good. You guys are in really good shape. As you look underneath these charts here, I've tried to make this as understandable as and easy to understand as possible. But again, when you look at gravity mains, 64% in very good condition, 19% in good condition. Those are just phenomenal numbers. Again, this is not a new system. It's been in the ground for a long time. But again, it shows the investments that have been made and the continued investments that are being made to maintain this system. Again, this describes likelihood of failure. And in this case, likelihood of failure is really kind of dependent upon age and material and just overall operational condition. The second piece is consequence of failure. So think about this as critical infrastructure, something in front of a school or in front of a hospital, somewhere where the impact to the community, if there was a failure, would be greater, the greatest impact. And so there's a ranking system that was developed with staff to basically prioritize those critical assets. Again, you can see the majority of your system runs in that very low consequence of failure. But there are certainly some areas that we need to keep an eye on, and that may require more due diligence and a higher level of service requirement on those areas. Again, you would not want to take a run to failure approach in front of those highly consequential areas. At the end, you basically end up with what is called the risk matrix. And again, the risk matrix is built upon likelihood of failure and consequence of failure.
Oh, go back.
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure that you address the 100% on force mains.
Yeah, and the 100% force mains, if a force main breaks, that's a pretty high consequence, no matter where it is, right? It's pressurized wastewater at that point. So that's not just.
It's not specific to our.
That is.
Okay.
That is
That's
the
great.
case everywhere.
Okay.
Is a high consequence.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
This is the consequence versus the previous slide.
Yeah, which it looks like they're mostly in fair and good condition.
That is correct, right?
All right,
But
great.
if it fails, it is.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just
No,
wanted to
no,
jump over that one. Okay.
And please, I love interruptions. So please ask questions at the moment in time as well. So again, some general takeaways from here is, again, the system is in really good shape. It is being very well managed. You're making some really good investments, and we can certainly, be thankful for those investments. There's a few things here I want to touch on beyond just likelihood of failure and consequence of failure. The other thing is what we would kind of call fit for purpose. And ultimately, that's speaking to capacity. So as new development comes in, maybe the pipe is in really good condition or the pump station, it is functioning well. However, it was maybe not designed to be able to handle that much flow. The other thing that happens there is what we call extraneous flow. Extraneous flow is basically rainwater getting into the sewer system. And that always happens. It's not unique to you here. It happens in every community. For the most part, Generally speaking, again, not a tremendous amount of extraneous flow getting in, but it's something that is always needing to be managed and considered. When we look at extraneous flow, that can come from individual cleanouts. So there's some practices, smoke testing, other things like that that staff can do in order to identify those sewer laterals, cross connections. These are kind of best practices that are already being administered today, but just worth calling out again. The other thing that I did want to talk about is level of service. And so next slide here. We look at this as different storm events, and I will not get into does a 10-year storm happen every year now, or 2-year happen every 6 months? That's a whole nother subject I will not broach today. But basically, these are defined storms that we as engineers and in this industry, we kind of use as templates of how does the system react underneath those storms. And think about that level of service. I kind of have a gas gauge here. If you were going to go on a trip and you only had a quarter tank of fuel, you can only go so far before you're going to have issues, right? So think about it much the same way here is how much freeboard, how much capacity do you have if rainwater gets into the system to be able to handle that extraneous flow? The recommendations you can see on the following slides, we have the 2-year and the 5-year and the 10-year. The standard of care that I would recommend is probably that 5-year standard of care. That is a reasonable standard of care. 2 years, I would consider minimum standard of care. 10 years, there are costs that come with that may not actually outweigh the benefits. And so again, our recommendation to staff is to manage to that 5-year design storm.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
speak to me like I'm a fifth grader or maybe even lower than that and explain just what does this map mean? Talk to me about the 5-year.
Yeah, so if you can see on the map here, some of the orange and red manholes and red lines, what that is showing from the legend in the lower side is that during a 5-year rain type event, and again, not to get deep in the weeds here, inches of rain, and it's also intensity. You could have 2 inches of rain in an hour. That's not the same storm as 2 inches of rain over several days, right? And so again, this is a specific design storm. Under those conditions, based on the hydraulic modeling and the data we've gathered, these pipes that are in red would basically be flowing almost full. There's surcharge. That's not to say that there would be an SSO, but you are approaching a full pipe that could end up with a sanitary sewer overflow. Sanitary sewer overflow. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is the pipe is full. You still have capacity in the manhole itself as well.
So orange is?
Orange is basically 75 to 99% full. Yeah, great question. James, anything to add there? Okay, all right. So just wanted to make that kind of recommendation there that I think that is a good standard of care, level of service target to manage to. Moving along to just some recommendations, quite honestly, things that are here, most of these things are already happening today. Year-round flow monitoring, James, I believe you have flow meters, 5 in the ground right now. And that is important to maintain that, just to basically have operational knowledge of the system. But it also helps us understand when we are doing rehabilitation projects, we can actually quantify how much I&I reduction or inflow and infiltration, extraneous flow reduction actually occurred.
This may be a question for James more than for you, but how do we determine where we put our 5 flow meters?
So some of that's from the map, and then we're also using issues we observed during Chantel
Right.
to identify some areas that we know we need to take a closer look at.
Okay, so there would be flow meters near the red dots.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yep. Monitoring basically what is coming in from upstream.
Okay, thank you.
And those flow meters are mobile. They can be moved.
Correct.
Be moved around to address specific needs. So they're not stationary. The hydraulic model, I've already kind of touched on that, but that's something that is ongoing. Again, when we talk about an asset management plan, it is a living document. This is meant to be updated every year, continually. Situations are changing, assets are aging, so it's really about keeping this document up to date all the time. couple other things, next slide. Again, there's some critical manhole elevation data that may be worth taking a look at as well. And again, continue to target I&I reduction, inflow and infiltration reduction. On the next slide, we have the 10-year CIP recommendations. I've highlighted in blue. I actually had the opportunity, gosh, James, it's probably been 6 years ago now, to sit in front of this council and go through a similar type recommendation here. And at that point in time, it was recommended that in the CIP that you would put somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000 a year into rehabilitation. And as you can see, you're fairly close to that number. There's annual inflation that is added to that as well. It is worth noting that number is where it is because we've also been very successful in obtaining some other funding. I think James is going to talk about this later. But SWIA, the state water infrastructure, just awarded $5 million to the town of Southern Pines for this type of work, rehabilitation and replacement type work. So
these things listed on this slide, which you're on there too, are what you consider to be the priorities where we are most at risk? Is that correct? Or am I misreading that?
that would be a good way to interpret that, yes.
Okay.
These are high priority projects based on the outcome of the asset management plan and staff recommendation.
And is the Longleaf Dam sewer relocation at all connected with the Knollwood neighborhood? I don't see Knollwood on here as my actual question.
What you may be thinking of with
Help
that,
me.
when you look at the first line that's in blue, the gravity sewer system annual rehabilitation,
Right.
you'll note that doesn't have a location on it. So
Right.
the intent was that $400,000 or $500,000 annually would be put toward sewer rehab. The determination about where that sewer rehab takes place is the result of the monitoring, watching for SSOs, all of the previous stuff that's been discussed here. So that Knollwood project would have come out of the previously funded work that's been done for the last 5 to 6 years. So you won't see it by neighborhood on this particular sheet. You're going to see $400,000 to $500,000 annually. Where the project takes place depends upon what we are experiencing with the system as time moves forward.
Okay, but just to make sure that I'm singing off sort of the right page, the Knollwood Dam sewer relocation has nothing to do, the Longleaf Dam sewer relocation has nothing to do with the Knollwood project.
That is correct.
And the Knollwood project, you're telling me, is already well underway? as
Yes,
far as
the Longleaf Dam sewer relocation, that is, you may recall during Chantel, the gravity sewer that
Huge,
was,
yeah,
that's
huge
what
problem.
that is about. That needs to be relocated permanently. It's functioning now. It's in a temporary state, but we are in the process. Now that Longleaf has got their permit for the dam itself, we are in the process of engineering the permanent home for that sewer line.
And this has to do only with sewer, not with this has nothing to do, well, it should have something to do with the stormwater issues that surfaced during Chantel. I mean, the homes were flooded.
These are dollars toward the sewer system. The only aspect of Chantel that would really play into any of this is that I&I that Eddie talked about, because stormwater is one of those things
It's one
that
of
can
the things.
infiltrate a system
Right.
and use up capacity. So I'm not going to say they're completely unrelated, but it's not a direct correlation.
Not intended,
Yeah.
none of this is intended to solve flooding
Right.
or
It
stormwater.
doesn't talk to sedimentation, it doesn't speak
No.
to flooding,
this
it
is
doesn't speak to
purely
any of those things.
This is purely what's contained in the pipe.
Right, and trying to keep rainwater out of the pipe.
Exactly.
So when I'm talking Longleaf Dam sewer relocation,
Relocating the sewer line.
the sewer line that is currently at where? That is currently located?
At the site.
That was previously the Longleaf Dam that broke during Chantel.
Okay,
There is currently a line there, as there was prior to Chantel, but that is not its permanent home.
Yeah, so the original sewer line was installed across the face of the dam.
okay.
When the
Thank you.
dam went away, it's now
Poof.
painted up in the air. Thankfully, it was installed with piles. The piles held while the
Okay.
dam washed away around it.
Okay. Okay, so that's our top priority, is to secure the Longleaf sewer system because it is currently airborne.
Yes, and we are actively working with FEMA to try to obtain funding from Chantel to address that project.
Okay. How's that going?
We meet with FEMA about once a week.
That pretty much answers that, right? Okay. All right, thank you. Wow.
So that kind of closes out the sewer section. Any other questions on the sewer?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like that.
BJ, you continuously are more.
He has a marble, don't let his head get too small, I know.
I hesitate.
So that is,
That's where the dam used to be.
right, and where the sewer line is.
That's the sewer line right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a good.
yeah. It's functioning and,
It's flowing, it's clamped, it's repaired, it's not leaking.
yeah,
Okay.
And it was that, but it could have been way worse.
it could have been
Yeah,
much
it definitely
worse.
could have been way worse.
All right, so we will transition to the water system. Some of the things that I've already gone over on the sewer applies here, the likelihood of failure, consequence of failure, so I will not spend a lot of time there. Just kind of dropping down through the overview, again, hydraulic model completed on the water system as well. This basically helps us understand fire flow capability, basically pressure, how much pressure do we have, how much flow do we have at each one of the access points. So ultimately, again, what we're basically doing in a hydraulic model is creating a digital twin of your system. And so we can put pressures on it. What if a development comes? What if this happens? What if this breaks? How does that affect the overall system? We can basically kind of simulate that in the model and give insight onto what the outcome could be. When you look at the water distribution inventory, again, about 253 miles of line, and again, about 5,000 valves. So again, a lot of infrastructure in the ground. Again, probably a degraded value around a $300 million asset that you're managing and maintaining. When you look at likelihood of failure, notice nothing in the very poor category. Again, every town I talk to would love to see your chart instead of the chart that they have. So again, in really good shape here, a testament to the work that has been done. If we look at consequence of failure, again, fire hydrants, storage tanks, you mentioned the 100% before. These are critical assets. Even though they could be brand new, if they fail, it's going to have high impact. And so that's not speaking to condition, it's just speaking to impact. But then when you come over to the risk matrix, when you're looking at the combination of those two, again, less than 1% of your fire hydrants are in that extreme. So basically it's a couple of aged fire hydrants that probably need to be replaced. And so that is identified in the asset management plan. And again, staff is aware of those critical assets. If we scroll on down to the hydraulic water model recommendations, water age is something that we often talk about, how long the water is sitting in the pipe. Again, there's an optimal time that you don't want to exceed. And so these are some areas that we definitely want to kind of take a look at on water age, enhanced flow testing, pressure monitoring. Have you put in any pressure monitoring?
We do not have pressure monitoring.
Okay, yeah, so I think that's one thing that we have chatted about about maybe putting in some pressure monitoring on some of the hydrants. And the valve exercising program, that's just to make sure that the valves are in good working order in case you do need to, if you have a water main break and you need to cut a valve off, you're not getting there finding out that it no longer functions because they do fail over time. Yes.
Would you please identify the location of the 2 fire hydrants that need to be addressed?
I don't know them off the top of my head, but they are listed in the report itself.
James, do you know?
I'm trying to, where'd you see the 2?
And I don't know this too, it's less than 1%. I'm thinking it's
Right,
probably
I
a couple of
understand.
fire
You
hydrants.
said 1 or 2.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's that 1 or 2 there.
Actually,
I can.
I know one is on Bennett Street,
Mhm.
because it has a 4-inch line on it that is actually out of service. We actually fixed that last week.
Okay, so that's fixed. So do you know what the other one is?
I don't.
I don't.
Okay,
Yeah, we can find that out for you in the
that'd
report.
be great to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Moving to the CIP itself, I've highlighted here in yellow Much like we talked about earlier on the sewer, many years ago, I made a recommendation of how much should be invested annually just for rehabilitation. And say again?
You didn't do one for the water last time.
Right. This one is new, right? So this is highlighted in yellow. And again, kind of looking at those numbers, those are some pretty good numbers to consider as part of your annual rehabilitation and replacement strategy. Round numbers, somewhere between 160 to 175,000.
These are new. Have we not budgeted for this at all so far yet in any budgets?
Not from the water line side.
Yeah, not directly from a water line side. We have been using a capital project fund over the years that we would go in as we found things and address them, but we've not had this same report on the water side that we've been utilizing on the sewer side.
Or these part of the enterprise fund, not
That's,
our
yeah, this is
budget?
this is all enterprise
Okay.
fund, yeah.
What's the difference between why is there a significant difference in cost between sewer and water lines? And is there a shelf life for either one of those?
There is an anticipated service life for all types of pipe, and that varies by material. Generally speaking, your water lines are smaller diameter.
Okay.
Versus gravity sewer line is 8-inch and larger. Water lines could be 4 and 6 inch. So that's part of just the material costs are different. Gravity lines, you're going to have manholes, other larger structures where water mains are running a pretty good distance without any other assets other than fire hydrant, gate valve. So generally speaking, it is a little bit less per linear foot for replacement.
Correct me also if I'm wrong on this, Eddie, but I think if you do a kind of slide over slide comparison, when you look at our system, you're going to find a lot of our water system is still a little newer than some of the sewer system that's in place. So the water system might be in a little better shape than the sewer collection system, and therefore the annual amount necessary to rehabilitate it might not quite reach.
And that's certainly a factor as well.
One last question. As we look at this, and I'll just use this chart, we go from 30-31, fiscal year 30-31 to fiscal year 31-36. There's a significant increase in the predicted cost. Is that based on what we think potential, I don't want to use this term, but potential growth could be? Or what is that significant jump for?
So that's actually just a cumulative, that's a 5-year time period. So take 890 divided by 5, basically.
Oh, I see what you did.
Yeah.
Duh.
It's instead of having 10 years stretched out, we just kind of compressed the
And
5.
did you build any CPI type increases into this chart as you went
Yeah.
across it?
About a 3% increase, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
What, in your opinion, is the most beneficial material for pipes to be made of, both pertaining to water and sewer?
So the town has standards, and that is going to be somewhat condition-based of what the use of that pipe is. But James, standards here,
Yeah, so in most cases, we are installing PVC pipe right now for both water and sewer. When we get into larger diameter projects, like when we did the Pennsylvania PD Road water line a couple years ago, that was a large 16-inch diameter transmission main. We actually installed that as ductile iron.
As what, sorry?
Ductile iron.
ductile iron.
Can you spell it for me?
Ductile, D-U.
Duct, okay.
Yeah, D-U-C-T-I-L-E.
T-A-L.
Iron pipe.
Okay.
And
So-
those are the two most prevalent materials in the industry today.
Yes.
So they're the two most prevalent. Are they the two best? Which was actually my question. What do you think is the most beneficial?
They are the best that is out there. You have the option to try to get concrete pipe for water mains, but you won't traditionally see that until you start talking major, like Raleigh-sized water lines, 60, 80-inch pipes, not for us to use here. When you look at, especially in a sewer application, metal pipes are more corrosive than a plastic pipe. Plastic is generally inert, much better use for a sewer instance. And then from a maintenance standpoint, PVC is far lighter and easier to handle. much more favorable for the crews to work on. So we have a strong preference towards that when, all things else are equal.
You agree?
I definitely agree, and without getting engineering here, and James will know this as well, but it depends on what the substrate is, what the soil types are. If you're in rocky soils, that may lean you more toward ductile iron. You're in sand, so PVC is a really good choice. PVC is very flexible. It's a little bit more forgiving if something hits it. In this particular environment, PVC is really a choice material to
Does
use.
PVC have an issue as far as just emitting plastics into the system?
Not that has ever been documented. Yep.
Don't like that answer. Okay, thank you.
And there's a picture of the difference.
Nice. Look
Yeah.
at you. Thanks.
All right, so kind of closing out here, just recommendations. Again, as I mentioned earlier, maintain and update the asset management plan. It is a living document. It is a great resource for you as council and staff to be able to prioritize and make decisions when you're looking at what projects to fund. This really gives you a great roadmap and some policy to be able to follow. Costs change, so updating cost estimates as time moves forward. Again, we make allowances for that in inflation, but we never know really what that's going to look like. So just making sure that those are maintained and up to date. A formal operation and maintenance program, again, that's in place. There's been a few small recommendations, but again, the standard of care and the way that staff has maintained the sewer system is exceptional. And so really no major changes there. One of the things that we do often talk about, because of this roadmap and you understand where your risks are, this allows you to take into what I would call a common corridor strategy. So think about it this way, as we were talking about earlier. Well, wow, we need to go repave this street. Well, there's a high-risk sewer line under that street. We probably should fix the sewer line before we pave the street, right? Because nobody wants to pave a street and then dig the street up. So it gives you a little bit more insight there to basically coordinate those projects together. The other thing that's worth noting, I mentioned earlier that you were awarded funding. Those applications are competitive applications. You're competing against other communities in the state for the same dollars. There is a scoring process that goes forward on that. You have to build a defensible case. And part of that is having an asset management plan in place. So having this document in place and maintaining it is better positioning you in the future for additional funding opportunities. So again, it's a really critical asset for that particular purpose. Again, it does help define funding strategy. So when we look at different funding programs that come out, we already have a list of projects and needs in the community that we can say those needs actually line up really well with the funding programs that are there. And so it allows us to be more proactive in how we pursue external funding, and every dollar we can get through those programs just means that's one less dollar that you're having to try to find through ratepayer or your enterprise fund. Kind of the last steps here, last slide. Again, this project is complete. The only thing that is really left remaining to close this project out is for the council to pass a resolution to adopt the asset management plan and the capital improvement plan. And we would also need a copy of the minutes of this meeting to be able to submit that with that final submittal. The state of North Carolina, DWI, Department of Water Infrastructure, they've already reviewed your asset management plan. They've made comment. We've addressed comments. Staff has made comments. Those have been addressed. This is the final stage of this, is for council adoption. And with that, I will close out and entertain any other questions.
Thank you, Eddie. Are there questions from the council?
Yeah, I recall, I think maybe I was part of that earlier. This is sort of bringing back some old memories.
Yes.
But didn't you say back then, we're going to allocate for some of those to build in, but for some of those huge numbers, we would look at financing and then setting maybe some extra into the enterprise rates to be able to fund financing, but not have saved $30 million
You've been doing, and you've been doing that through your budgeting process for a number of years now. And in fact, one of the largest forthcoming numbers you saw on there was the North Pressure Zone at $7 million, and we'll be talking about that come April, and whether it's going to involve any financing or how close we've come to actually being able to fund that, and maybe push financing off another year. So, but yes, and I think you were on the council the last time Eddie presented, and well, definitely the only person that was here, besides myself and James maybe. But you've been working toward a number of these projects. That $7 million that's on the screen now has also been part of your capital improvement plan dating back to, as we've talked about, the system development fee and a couple of the updates we've done on it. So we've been building toward that. And you'll recall when we sit down and go through the rate study each year, we talk about how there are going to be years that it looks like you have a lot of retained earnings, but it's toward projects like this, and you'll see that fall off very quickly as you spend the cash, and that's why you build those reserves up along the way. So what we have done coming off of the last set of studies that Mr. Staley was involved with, and even prior to that, has really worked extremely well to date, which is why you see so much of the system in that fair to very, very good. If you go back 5 years, some of that very good might have very well been more toward the poor end, and it's the projects that have been completed now 5-6 years later.
So I have a couple comments and a couple questions. The first one is, I appreciate Mr. Pate, who has the only person with enough longevity up here to remember even having met with you. So thanks for guiding us in that way. I appreciate your compliment to the staff. I understand, particularly after Helene hit Asheville, the importance of a GIS system and the fact that they had a nightmare on their hands because they didn't have what we have. But more than that, when you commend the council, I think it's previous councils that have had the foresight, and one of those people is available here in this room. Thank you, Mr. McInerney, for your thoughtfulness and focus on making our job easy many, many years ago. So I appreciate that. I'm interested in where your firm is based, Whitters or Ravenel. Where are you based out of? What town?
So our home office is in Cary.
Okay.
We actually have an office, a small satellite office here in Southern Pines. We have offices in Pittsburgh, in Wilmington, downtown Raleigh, Greensboro, and Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay, and my second question, which you may or may not be able to answer, or James may be able to answer, if you are suggesting pressure monitoring on hydrants, is that a particularly expensive undertaking, or is that something that's fairly affordable? And can anybody give me a ballpark? And is that in the budget already to address?
We are looking at that. I actually been talking with Chief Cameron and the fire department because there's some potential for shared equipment there. When they go out and do hydrant testing, some of the technology might be beneficial to them also.
No doubt.
So we're looking at some options, but I don't have a number at this time.
Okay, is that something that you and Chief Cameron will be able to present to us fairly soon? It would be great if we had that issue addressed.
Yeah, I don't see any issue. I mean, I can tell you, we're probably talking about like $1,000 a monitor. So we're not talking huge dollars. You know, this is not a capital expense, but still something that falls in the O&M budget.
Okay, appreciate it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there other questions? I just want to ask, because I remember making the note and now I can't find it. The grant and low interest loan received, was it on this portion of tonight's packet? Because now I can't find it. Is it somewhere else?
No, there was a note in the memo. We learned about it last week.
Okay.
We were just letting you know that, again, we've been successful. We made a grant application. We didn't get 100% grant this time. It was a half grant, half low interest loan.
Okay.
But like I said, we just learned about it last week.
Okay.
So we'll bring more details to you at a later date.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad that we're looking for grant opportunities where they exist. And then is there also potential to have money from the state for these kinds of projects? Can we ask? When it's like the larger dollar amounts?
Well, oftentimes the grants are coming through the state. Sometimes those are state funds. Sometimes they're passed through federal funds. If you're talking about specifically like, thank you, yeah, appropriation, whatever word it is they use for it these days. You can always ask. I don't know that a lot of that is occurring. Where I've seen that occur, it's been systems that are in very difficult financial shape, which is where a lot of the grant dollars also get spent. The
yes.
beauty of getting these types of things in place is it does allow us to at least compete for the monies that are out there that aren't already tied to distressed systems. And a lot of times distressed systems are in no position to go through this kind of work. They're trying to pay the bills and keep the tap flowing.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Unless there's other questions. All right, seeing none. I appreciate all the input. I appreciate the update. I guess if it's updated every year, we'll hear from you every year on any changes.
If it's something council's interested in, we could look at doing annual updates, but really, this is something where, you kind of have the master document in place. We'll regularly monitor it. But, historically, it's not something we had planned to come back and report
I was like,
on.
unless there's really substantial change or new information, I think
I'd
that,
say the biggest thing is when we come in and we look at the CIP every year at budget, that's really where, kind of the rubber hits the road with these.
I was going to say CIP every year at budget. Anytime we come back to you with some grant approvals and things that we oftentimes have to come back for, particularly if there's matching dollars involved. And the other time that you'll see a lot of these types of projects is we have to go through the reauthorization of the SDF every 4-year minimum, I think. So
Yeah.
as those come back, you'll often see a lot of these projects as they're advancing or getting closer on the sheet.
all right. James, Eddie, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Do we need to?
Just a reminder, you need an adoption, yeah.
All right. Here, no other questions. I'll make a motion that we adopt the water and sewer assessment management plan as well as the capital improvement plan as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you both.
Thank you.
I will echo Ann's comment. It is awfully nice to hear compliments to our staff and the data that we have on hand. Infrastructure is something that doesn't come up often, but when it does come up, there's a lot of questions around it. So it's great to hear it's in good condition. All right, moving on to our council updates and discussion. We have our American 250 Patriots marker. Jessica, if you would like to present, and Marcia, you're going to come present with her? Yep, if you want to both come up here, that'd be great. While you guys are getting seated, I will preface the conversation just saying that we had a chance to meet when the DAR presented the first idea to Jessica and I reached out to each of the council members, and I think Jessica scanned in some of this information, so you may have seen it before.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Marcia Jacobs from the Moore County Daughters of the American Revolution, and I'm going to let her really present the majority of her request. But what she's here today is to talk to you about a Patriots America 250 marker that the group would like to install at Town Hall. And this is an application-based approval that they need to submit. And in order to file that application, they would need a letter of support from the town. And so we are here today so Ms. Jacobs can present her request. You can ask any questions, and then if you're comfortable with it, staff could prepare the letter of support that you could adopt at your March meeting, and she could continue with her application.
So there are the two, here. So there are actually two projects, there are two markers. So do you want me to, I was going to address this one second. Is it okay to go ahead and do the one with the American flag
Whatever
first?
you'd like. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. All right. So, like she said, my name is Marcia Jacobs. I'm the regent of the Alphamore chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. For those who are not familiar with the DAR, it has been around since October 11th of 1890. So it has obviously been long enduring. What is even less more commonly known is that the Alfred chapter actually started here in Southern Pines, right up here on Pennsylvania Avenue. It was held in the home of Harriet Reed Whittaker, and she was the regent at the time, so that started in 1924. So here we are 100 years later, so we're 102 as of September. But I want to just thank you very much for the invitation of being here by Mayor Clement and then also with Jessica and then with the council. It is an honor and a privilege. There are two projects that I would like to propose and ask for your approval. The first one is the donation of an American flag for the dedication of your new town hall. Was there a date that was scheduled for that?
It's a moving date.
It's on roller coaster.
Yes.
Sometime in 2026.
Yes.
Okay.
We're ready to be in the building any day now. It's just when the construction's finalized.
Perfect. The only reason why I was asking is because whenever we have a commemorative marker that is going to be installed, we have to get permission from National over in DC, over the headquarters. And for the first project for the commemorative marker, the approval takes about 1 month. And then after that, it takes about 2 months for the commemorative marker to be produced and then be able to be sent. And so I was wondering about the timeline. That's the reason why I was asking.
Would we be safe if we said June 1?
I most certainly would hope so, yes.
What I would recommend is if that looks like a 3-month timeline, the sooner we could get a motion or approval, if you guys are comfortable with it, so that it's ready, when we move in. Okay.
Okay.
If she was able to put in her application June 1 of this year, that would give a marker for the marker, if you will.
Oh, for like a ribbon cutting type ceremony on
Yeah, I was
June
going to
1.
say,
Okay,
would the
yes.
intent be to dedicate it the evening of, for instance, your first business meeting in the building, or do you just want to choose a date and say, we're going to make this the dedication date, and that way she's got something to work with for application purposes?
Choose a dedication date, yeah.
Or we could go crazy and say July 4th. Could be pretty cool.
Good. All right, we'll leave that out there. That's possible, yeah.
4th, we would surely be in, and it's officially, we could have a birthday cake and everything.
Hey, can I have chocolate?
Absolutely.
Well, let's definitely pick if it's possible to pick a date on dedication, let's maybe do that.
We need to go backwards from wherever we're positive we're going to be in the building. So I'd like to give her a date certain.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and put June 1st, on the application. So I'd rather have something on there that would be a really good optimistic, and if we have to postpone it, that's fine. At least we have the marker. Okay.
That works.
So I spoke with Jessica, and she gave me the option of having either a 3x5 or a 4x6 flag, and we're going to donate the 4x6 plus the marker. Do you have a picture of the marker?
I didn't
If
bring
not,
the flag
okay.
marker, no.
So I'm going to go ahead and let me see here. This is just an estimate, just ignore about the price that's on here, but it does give the dimensions of the marker. Now, from what was explained to me, it's going to be in front of the town hall, and we'll have the American flag obviously in the middle, and then there's going to be 2 flags on both sides, and then it's going to be with the shrubbery, and I actually have a picture of that as well that Jessica was sweet enough to give me, so here's that. And what the conception was is that the actual plaque is going to be mounted on the seating wall, okay? And yes, of course, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And this is the smaller of the 2 plaques. How big is this one?
It is 14 by 11, is that what it says, ma'am?
It does say 14 by 11.
Okay, so that will be the size, and I think the wall was 17?
I think it was 17.
So it was ample enough room for that to be there. Now, just ignore all the writing. This is just an example from another company that has it on there. But one of the items that we thought we would put on there would be, of course, the American flag and pole. I'm not too sure if you want to put the pole on there because we're donating the flag, okay? But donate to commemorate the dedication of the Southern Pines Town Hall by the Alfred Chapter, National Society Daughters of the American Revolution 2026. Now, if you guys would like to do that, that's more than acceptable, but that's something we can certainly discuss as long as I have it ready for the application.
Okay.
Now, are there any questions so far?
You need to have the definite on it to be ready in time.
Well, we have to gather the information from Jessica, plus the letter of recommendation. Do you think that a realistic timeline would be, what, 10 days, 2 weeks at the
Our
most?
next meeting is March the 10th, so they could authorize us to sign that letter of support if
Mhm.
that works.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so that would be the March 10th.
So
Okay.
the goal is for us to make a decision by March 10th?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Okay. Now, the good news is that this project number one, is fully funded by the Alphamore chapter. So there isn't any expectation coming from the Southern Pines town. My friend Marcia Rowbottom, she took the lead, and I am very happy to say that this project is already fully funded.
So just for my clarification,
Yes.
you donate the flag. I guess we put it up the pole, fly it, but then is it after a day? Like, do we then display it somewhere? I mean, because it wouldn't
I think
be,
the intent is that would be
Keep it there.
our display flag.
okay, so we maybe put it up, but then have it displayed. Okay, that's what I was figuring. It's like, otherwise it wears out
Sorry, when I
No.
said that, it's the flag that would fly over town hall.
for however long its
Forever,
lifespan
long
is.
as it's in
Until
nice
it
condition.
until it needs to be replaced.
Gotcha, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's why I wasn't sure you answered it, thank you.
Okay, of course. All right, wonderful. So far, do you have any questions about that? Have I explained everything? So we have the plaque that's going to be mounted to the seating wall, and we're going to be donating the flag. And we have a projected date of June the 1st for the dedication of the town hall for this project.
And I looked, June 1st is a Monday, if that matters to anyone, so.
So I think we're earmarking June 1st as a optimistic date with the acknowledgement that we can pick a date for dedication sometime.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean,
after.
there's
Okay.
nothing that would keep you from dedicating the building and the flagpole and everything if for some reason we weren't in there by June 1st, but I don't,
Okay.
knowing what I know today, I don't foresee that being a problem.
Okay.
Kind of think it would be more celebratory. Councilwoman Peterson mentioned about July 4th. I mean, it's a Saturday. But yeah, but that's also a time that people would be out of work and they could, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, since it's the 250th year of the country and all of that good stuff. Ms. Jacobs, I thank you, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, sorry.
Marcia, actually, I'm Marcia Jacobs, and
Jacobs,
that's
right.
Marcia Rowbottom.
Oh, both Marcias. Oh, okay, Marcia and Marcia.
We have
that's
two
cool.
Marcias here.
That's good. No, I think it's wonderful what you're doing for the town. DAR has a kind of a reputation amongst the Black community, and I can't. I'm trying to get past it, but I don't know. And I think this is good. I don't know if maybe the marker, I don't know, maybe something could be, I don't know.
May I address that one thought? that
Please,
you
please
had?
do.
Okay. So I understand what you mean about the DAR and about the history. I completely understand. I would like you to know the DAR is focusing and encouraging for things to, and it's been going on for quite some time. We are encouraging specialty research. We are encouraging any female over the age of 18 who can prove a blood lineage connection to a patriot, or any person who has shown any type of a cause or an aid to the cause of our, for our independence. And I actually went back and did a little bit of research because as a genealogist myself, I love Native American research, but the specialty research even goes so much more deeper than that. I found out that they have special programs when it comes to French Canadian, when it comes to Dutch, Native American, the Jewish, the African American. And there was actually one word I still cannot seem to pronounce. But they are making great strides on making this all inclusive. And I'm even working on 2 African American applications right now for two lovely ladies. One who happens to be working for a congressman over in Halifax County. So I think it's a great organization. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it. You know, my great-great-grandmother, she was in it, and it was because of her example. Although I really didn't meet her personally, but there was a legacy that I decided to continue that. And I enjoy bringing the attention of that to everybody, no matter who they are. I'm just saying, if you're here and we can do great causes together, we believe in historic preservation, education, and patriotism. So any person who has that type of value system, we want them. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Well, I wasn't really asking a question. I was kind of just making a
Sure,
comment.
a comment, sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I'm thinking if there was a way to make the marker have a more inclusive feel so that it doesn't, because I'm not a historian. English is my thing. History was never my thing. I think though that there were about 9,000 either slaves or former slaves or whatever, freedmen that fought in the American Revolution. Of course, we know history-wise, the problem is because of slavery, people don't really have a good way to connect to prior ancestors. And so you have that barrier.
A lack of record keeping.
Yeah. I mean, we have, well, yeah, that's another
challenge.
story. Southern Pines is a unique town. It's a beautiful town, and the inclusivity here for all residents is I think it's unique. I don't think there's any other town anywhere that's like this. But as I looked at the other,
That one, there's only
the other one is that copy. You know, certain things are buzzwords. When you say David Reese chapter of the Mississippi State Society, good God.
Well, those are all, it's not ours.
Okay, so this is not
That's
what it's
not
gonna
ours
be.
at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so, okay.
Stick with this
I
one.
found on the internet from the actual
Gotcha.
one of the vendors, and it's actually the only one I was able to come across this is strictly a
I'll
plaque
figure
that
one.
is saying that we are donating
Right.
an American flag, and this is in commemoration of the dedication of your town hall. Because the way I look at it with Southern Pines, I actually nicknamed it the Carolina Treasure. So, you know, this town I think is absolutely wonderful, and it has an amazing history. And you're right, the people are really fabulous. But no, I'm sorry that is such a bad example, but it's the only one that we have.
Gotcha.
To be clear,
Yes.
what you are suggesting is 2 plaques, one that is specifically with this
Yes,
language
ma'am.
on it, and one that acknowledges the American pole and flag, but does not have this information on
That
it.
is correct. It is going to say something along the lines, donated to commemorate the dedication of the Southern Pines Town Hall. And by the Alfred Moore Chapter, National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution, 2026. Now, if you wanted to make some adjustment to the verbiage, I would be more than happy to hear that, absolutely, because this is for the town.
Marsha, one thing I don't like to do is put folks on the spot at the meeting.
That's
So
okay.
we could always maybe chat at a later time, maybe prior to the 10th. I just thought maybe something in the plaque that could be more in, more representative of the whole town. I mean, there are other organizations in the town that represent various people, and I know this is being presented by the Daughters of the American Revolution, and thank God that it is. It's beautiful, but something that reflects Southern Pines.
Are you talking about the American flag or the Revolutionary War Patriots?
I think, well, since you don't really have the
Yeah.
total verbiage for that. This is going to be the verbiage for this. Am I right? What you
That
have
is
on this,
going to
right?
be the verbiage for it.
So, yeah, just,
This is-
I'm
I'm
sorry. No,
sorry,
go
my
ahead. Do your
mistake.
fine. Just, and I don't have a specific idea to render to you. It's beautiful. But again, the history behind the organization is not one that, I'm old, but there's some people even way older than me. And they remember some things. So, and you shouldn't be persecuted simply because you're part of an organization that wants to do something fantastic. And I'm grateful to hear that you are trying to reach out to possibly some African American daughters of the American Revolution. But the town hall is where the entire town, for the most part, will be coming to pay water. And I want them to feel like they are welcomed in that building, regardless of what they look like. And so, but I'll be glad to meet with you ladies. Maybe if y'all talk to me some more, maybe I'll be more at ease. I'm sorry, but thank you.
I think, I mean, what I appreciate about the DAR is your all's commitment to history, to being historians, because I, like Deborah, am not a historian. And when it comes to inclusion in our nation's history, there were a lot of people left out, especially of the American Revolution, because it is so long ago. And there's no one else that's trying to do that research and make sure that there is a tie for a country very young. There are limited ties that we have to our founding. So I think it's great that you're doing that, and I think it's great that you are trying to be inclusive in the process.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I would make a motion that we table this until the 10th of March for the meeting to make a decision, and that we take a bathroom break so that if people need to exchange phone numbers, they could do so.
Okay. Let me make sure that, Marcia, did you have other information you wanted to present on this? The 250th.
250th.
I know that's the larger marker and the one that we had talked about commemorating our.
Yeah, this marker will actually be donated by the chapter as well, and it will be freestanding on a pole. And we had originally discussed that it would be on the Southwest Broad Street as one of the options when the courtyard has been renovated. We want to celebrate the semi-quincentennial by linking the present and the future generations to the legacy of freedom and sacrifice, which is what this commemorative plaque represents. It creates a lasting legacy. And we want to demonstrate our patriotism and educational inspiration for all the visitors, including students and history enthusiasts. The marker does say, and I know you guys have a copy of it, but for those who are not able to have it, it says, Revolutionary War Patriots. This marker commemorates the men and women who achieved American independence. These patriots, believing in the noble cause of liberty, fought valiantly to found a new nation, 1775 to 1773. And it would say, presented by the Alphamore Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, in honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States. And it has the America 250 diagram at the bottom. We thought that after much discussion and research, that one of the reasons why we chose this area Before there was even a town in Southern Pines, there was a PD Road, the Yakin Trail, and the Old Buffalo Trail, now Morganton Road, running through this area. These routes of migration and trade brought many Highland Scots and other nationalities up to the Cape Fear River to this area between the 1760s and the migration peak in 1774. And that was one of the main reasons why we thought this would have been the perfect opportunity to be here. In addition to Alfred Moore Chapter once again being founded in Southern Pines right down the road. It takes a minimum of 6 months for that Patriot marker to be approved by National. And we have to give historical information and context and facts, and they do significant research to make sure that it qualifies, which is one of the reasons why we did our own research, because we don't want to waste your time as well as theirs. And then once again, just like the American flag, commemorative marker, it takes roughly about 2 months for the production to go through once it has been approved. And let me see here. The placement of this marker in Moore County will serve to bring attention to various Revolutionary War historical sites in or near Moore County. The House and Horseshoe, as many of us are familiar with, Ray's Mill Creek, which is the site of a 1781 July skirmish, and then of course everybody should be familiar with the Kenneth Black Cemetery, and then also the Old Scotch Graveyard. Other reasons or sources that we will be submitting to National if this is approved, and then also there's the Piney Bottom Massacre that happened in 1781. We believe that this new facility is an ideal site for this installation. It will see much attention with this formal dedication. Similarly, an anniversary year for our nation, its 250th anniversary. And I would like to thank everybody for their time and consideration.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you.
And are you okay with us making a decision on both of these items at our general business meeting on the 10th of March?
Yes. Okay. But with the 10th of March, we have to make sure we realize that it will not most likely be ready by the June 1 projected date.
Well, you're
For the American flag only. That's the only one I was talking about that, for the dedication. We can do that anytime that you think would be, the perfect opportunity.
Okay.
Okay.
the American flag one could be available, but the Revolutionary War Patriots would be subject to 6 months of research. Is that
It
your?
would be subject, yes.
Yeah, got it.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If we make it a March 10th decision, is there still a chance that the larger plaque marker, should we all agree that we want it, is there still a chance that we would get it in the year 2026 during the 250th?
Maybe just November?
Okay.
Probably December. Yes.
Your, Marcia number 2 is.
Oh, Marcia number 2, yes.
Is shaking her head no.
I did say minimum, so.
And they won't accept your research as theirs. They do their own, they do a unique research on their own. They do not accept your research as their research. Okay, understood.
Just send them here. We're rich in American Revolutionary War history.
Says the history teacher.
Says the history nerd.
History teacher. Yes, they do a thorough analysis and background review of all the paperwork and anything that may or may not be disproven. So anything that I submit, I make sure that it is factual and it is accurate and it aligns with the values of this town.
Good.
Yes.
Well, I think it's great. So if it goes at the town hall, and if there's a way to, on our town website or through your all site or somewhere, to link some of that history of how our town and the surrounding communities have some historical places in our Revolutionary War, I think it's a great thing to point out for people. If there are no other questions, okay, then we will.
Do we need a motion to put it to March 10th, or are we just going to set the calendar for then?
It's not a action item right now, so I think we just asked to have it put on the calendar for an action item.
I definitely need a bathroom motion.
Okay, all right. All right.
To close out that item, the flagpoles were actually delivered today to Town Hall. So.
Yay. That's exciting. We're getting closer.
So I had a question, and you might do this in the update, but since you mentioned it, I guess U.S. flag, North Carolina flag. I thought there was going to be three. What's the third one? Do we have a town flag?
We will.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right.
Marcia, thank you so much. We look forward to hopefully seeing you or someone from your organization in March. And if you're not able to join us, we'll just make sure we have enough information with our staff. Okay. Okay. Oh, Marcia, don't leave. Marcia number 2, don't go anywhere quite yet. All right. Thank you guys so much. We will reconvene in 10 minutes at 5 o'clock to continue our meeting. Thank you for everyone's patience. That took a little longer than we expected, but we are back. Moving on to our second item under the council updates and discussion, we now have our town hall status report.
I'm going to ask Chief Cameron to come forward a little bit. Since we already started talking about being in by June 1, let's try to refine that a little bit, but we won't have an exact date coming off this conversation.
Hello again. Y'all notice I don't come running up here until he looks over his shoulder at me, and I think,
All right,
I try to let him forget that I'm over there.
I had the corner.
Quick update on the town hall. Things are moving really well, going well. There are some challenges, as we knew that. So the original process, once we took ownership of the building, it was broken up into three areas. There were some exterior repairs that had to be done. It was just some normal stuff that needed to be repaired. We've already done that, so the exterior repairs have been completed. The entryway upgrades, which we are going through now, which is the area which I think most of you are familiar with, where the general public will come into, how that's going to be set up, how they conduct business once the front of that building is. So we're probably 50% done with that. We are waiting on some parts and pieces and some door frames, some doors. We're getting ready to install some of the card access stuff in those areas. And then the bigger part of that project was the council chambers downstairs. The demolition has pretty much been completed down there. We are working through the actual design. And let me be very honest with you, we did not have really good building plans from the previous upfit there. So we're working through that, some of that literally day to day or hour to hour sometimes. We have located some additional building supports that we've got to work around. We have some electrical challenges about getting electricity where we need that to. So we're working through those things. All of those things we can overcome. We're making some final decisions on how that layout is actually working for the council chambers right now. So all of those things are progressing. They are going well. We've got quite a bit of stuff on order for the building. We're at the point now where staff is working through some of that furniture order. Both Jessica and Beth are managing our furniture order and what needs we have in the building. We're working through some of our IT needs, our IT department. We've had to run a fiber line to the building, so we had fiber like the rest of our buildings. That is just about complete. The IT needs in the building. We have an IT room that is in the building that we're upfitting with town servers and town equipment. So when staff does move into the building, they can move into the building. The big thing we've done is lots of town staff have say-so and some oversight in this. We've really included and focused on those people that are going to be working in the building. We've talked about what it is they need to be able to function and do their job in the building, because it is going to be a different setup. The positive is a lot of our staff is going to work closer together, see each other more on a regular basis, so those are good things. But lots of challenges. We have some tentative plan on how we'll move people in when that day comes. We probably can populate the first floor and the second floor before other floors. We don't want to move everybody in at one time because we want to make sure we get a smaller group in the building. They function in that building for a week or so to make sure everything is working properly. The IT needs, the copiers, the phone systems. We want to make sure all those things are working properly before we dump everybody into the building. And then the forward-facing folks, the people that actually deal with the public on a regular basis, will kind of come in there last because that's a big process where we've got a little bit of a marketing campaign that we're going to push out to say, hey, these offices and these town functions are moving a block away. And so now, water bill, or I want to see a building inspector, or any of those kind of things, we're trying to plug those in where it's set up, where people know that move is taking place well in advance.
So we're putting up some notifications now that it will.
We're not doing a big push now. We've had those internal discussions. We kind of know what those notifications are. One of the reasons we haven't done that is because we don't have a defined date.
Okay. Yep.
We've got some things we don't have a good date on when those deliverables are going to happen. We're hoping that by March, the first week in March, that some of the stuff we've ordered is here. Okay. Our original goal was to be done with the first and second floor upgrades by April 1, and then we can start filtering people in that. That does not mean council chambers are finished by then. made me very nervous. Started throwing dates out up here. I didn't see me squirming back there on the back row. I was like, dates? You're doing an excellent job. Thank you. I don't think June 1 is a problem. I feel like that's plenty of time, but
More on the public facing,
Yeah.
like the water department, making
Yeah.
sure that we put notice at the water department
Yep.
a month before, just, like a
Yeah,
heads up, this is where we're going to be
we
after this
will.
date. Okay,
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
So I know that Ann and Bill have had a chance to visit.
Everybody's been through now.
Everyone,
Yeah.
good. All right, very good.
Yep.
That's great. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
I know that there are some challenges on the council chambers. I know that at least me, like what I have heard from the public is a lot of people would love to see us build a separate building. At this point, I don't think that that's necessary. So I think we're doing I know, right? We're doing a great job of working with what we have.
Making
I
me
know.
squirm again.
I know. I mean, you get a great thing. You get to do a town hall, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, and you should build this." I'm like, "No, we should not build that." No, I think that this is a great step in the right direction, and I think that we will, yes, we'll settle in and start working. And there, even though the council chambers location size it has some logistics. Once we get in there and have technology set up and camera set up, and it's going to be so much
And we
nicer
spent
than
time
not
with
moving
an
around.
AV team today that think is going to be a very positive experience. And I know just in walking through and in various conversations, I think we stood in every corner, side wall of that room and tried to envision it laid out in one direction versus another versus an angle. We didn't really land on a final answer because every one of them had pros and cons associated with it. And a lot of it is, and it looks a lot different now that the walls are opened up.
I bet.
Most of you were through before the demolition took place, and it's open now, and you would think it would look large, but because of the ceiling heights,
Looks smaller.
it really doesn't. So yeah, it's going to be better than anything we've met in historically. But much like the first and the second floor, if we were working with an empty shell, it's probably not exactly what we would build, but this was such a great opportunity that we are going to make it work, and it's going to function fantastic. So
A lot of discussion on council, how the council views things from their seats, how the public may view things from their seats, and then again, if you're remote or if you're streaming, what you can see. So there's a lot of talk, a lot of things to really anticipate that are very positive out of some of our discussions.
Care where I sit, but I'm tired of people telling me that they can see the person speaking, but they can't see the screen. So
We've got
let's
I think we have
fix
a
that.
solution for that, we believe.
Perfect. I'm excited. People are trying to watch online.
maybe people are going to find it for us because that was a big part of discussion today.
That should
So
be highly possible.
Yeah.
Not something that I'm able to do, but it seems like there are a lot of smart people in the world who can do that. Thanks.
I think this is a great acquisition. I think those of you that were on the council that went and secured this, man, I think you hit a home run. I'd go grand slam because when I walked through there with you, sir, it was amazing, and just I could visualize. And I'm no artist. My wife will confirm that. But I think we're going to look back. Folks will look back in history and be very grateful that we went and invested in the town, and well, you all did it. I wasn't here yet. I was one of the guys cheering you on. But I think it's going to be great. It's a building that represents our awesome community. Let me just put it like that. So I'm excited. And June 1st is a long way off, but I get what's going on next door here. He's building that buffer.
Thank you. I'm good unless you have questions.
Other questions? No? All right. Thank you. Which I guess leads us very directly into the admin and finance building discussion.
there was some thought that went into the ordering of the agenda, yes.
I thought it was perfect.
So again, we don't have a date certain that we are moving out of either of those buildings, so it's not a giant rush. However, this is a conversation we all knew we would be coming to. So you have in your packet a memo kind of outlining what sorts of things you may want to think about relative to if you were to lease it versus if you were to sell it. And I say it, you got two buildings here and you don't have to treat both of them exactly the same. So, but again, just wanted to outline the considerations to be made. As you can see, some of that may take a little bit of time. If you have a direction, there are certainly things we can start toward before we ever actually physically move out. Whether that would be, taking proposals for potential lease or starting to look at potential sale, because there's the upset bid procedure and everything that you may have to go through on that can sort of drag through. And then at least relative to the admin building, I also noted that both the Parks and Recreation Group and the library approached my office last week in anticipation and knowledge that this conversation would be taking place, and just said, hey, if you want to keep admin and continue to maintain it and operate it, we'd love to have the additional space for some programming and maybe a teen center type of thing there in the park. So I said I would go ahead and include that as one of the options in the event that you didn't wish to lease or sell that particular structure. And with that, I'm open to your thoughts, comments, and would love to just sit back and listen to your internal discussion so we can try to gather some information on where we might need to move next relative to the future of these structures while we're in the process of getting the new structure open.
So I would hope that I can ask this tactfully, but why is this our decision and not the historic district's decision?
Because these are town assets that the town council would have to, I'm going to use the word dispose, but that could be for a temporary lease period or for a sale period. But the HDC's purview is going to be with any external changes to those structures, be it by the town or by an eventual tenant or owner. But those are not assets of the Historic District Commission. They're actually town assets that the town council ultimately controls the disposition of.
So you don't think, should they have any part in the conversation now?
They've had a lot of input in the conversation when we had to redo our roof and our windows,
Right?
which,
No, I understand that, and I understand.
I
that
think the amount of input they may have on a decision to lease it or sell it is up to the council, since they are a board that is here to serve the council. But relative to the final decision making and whether there is a statutory requirement and or guideline for how they would be involved in a decision of disposition, I would suggest there is not. So it's entirely the council's purview to provide them an opportunity or a more formal
input.
Chance to be heard.
opportunity.
Chance to be heard, right?
Right. Outside of, obviously, they're all citizens and can speak to each and every one of you. But,
Right.
but
Right.
no, I have not outlined an HDC role in what I've outlined here because there isn't some sort of statutory guideline for that.
I think the real decision that we're up against is, being that these are historic buildings and they are costly to maintain, it's the taxpayers at this point who are paying for the maintenance and the use of the building, which, as we're occupying them, it makes sense. But the goal would be moving into a consolidated building to save money on other buildings rather than continue to pay the cost of maintaining other buildings. My personal opinion is also that as historic buildings, they have historic tax credits, which we do not get the benefit of because we are a tax-free entity. It would make more sense to have them on our tax roll as taxable properties and with an owner who has tax benefits of the historic maintenance on them. That is purely my opinion. I'll let you guys speak on how you feel about the buildings or the options, and then let staff, we're obviously not making decisions, but if we can give staff some directions of what additional information we need or what they can start to work on, it will at least avoid as much overlay of empty buildings under the town's care, whether we're leasing them or using them or selling them, just to avoid that gap.
I agree with you, Mayor. I think some time ago, we got some figures in terms of costs for revitalizing or making them work, maybe we need to revisit that. Just kind of see exactly what we're dealing with, if in case the library should want to, use the building for some type of, did you say a youth program?
So the figures I think you are referring to from previous, these are more maintenance figures. The figures I think you might be referring to from previous is when we looked at upfitting the two buildings to create some additional office space and not only bring them a little more up to code and such, but again, and the decision of the council at that time was really based on, we're going to spend all of this money, and the day we move in, we've already filled it, and there's nowhere further to grow or adjust. So I would not suggest that those particular figures, and Jessica, you may recall, but I want to say it was $2.5–3 million maybe to do both buildings, and that's purely off the top of my head. Might have been 4. Yeah, because there were some lower cellar things also for storage. I wouldn't say those are the figures for if you were to maintain them and, for instance, do something like with what Parks and Rec were talking about in the library. However, as much as construction costs have changed over that 2 or 3 year period, it might be very similar figures in the end too. But it wouldn't be the same level of work, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
I could talk a little bit more about the Parks and Rec and library request, and it really wasn't to do any type of substantial renovation in there. We may have to add the ADA ramp that we had talked about, but their idea was more to use admin in its current configuration with the current rooms, kind of test this concept out to see if teen programming and a teen space makes sense. There's a lot of need for study rooms and tutoring spaces. The library is just completely booked up with those types of things. And then from the recreation standpoint, we have been growing our teen programming, but so far it has been exclusively with out-of-town trips, and it's hard to kind of commingle senior citizens and teenagers at the DCC. And so really what they just wanted to put on your radar was, if there's any consideration that you might want to keep this building or you don't know, they kind of said, hey, we have an idea that we think the building in its current shape would make sense. So it's not a big proposal for a massive construction project or anything like that.
No, but so the building costs, so the routine expenses of about $20,000 a year would stay consistent, but not move walls.
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, for example, with administration, some of that is gonna stay because it's downtown Park. There would probably be some savings in custodial and maybe some of the utilities, because the concept that they pitched to us was that the building would not be staffed and utilized 40 hours a week. It's primarily after school, early evenings, and so that's when the building would be open, so less than it is now.
I had a quick point, if I could. Just quick couple questions, and I know you probably already did the analysis on this, but first of all, I like the idea of Parks and Recs and the library competing. I was thinking, the final competition could be either a readathon or maybe a tug of war to see who wins out if we go that way, or maybe a variant of both. But on a, I guess I'm kind of serious about that. But my only question is, or one of my few questions is, we're really not. Are we prepared to be, landlords? And that's a big undertaking. I would love to say we could do it and we could continuously. I do agree with you, ma'am, that we do need somehow way to recoup that money and put it toward what is now going to be our town hall. So whatever we come up with, I'll be fine with. I really worry about becoming landlords. I think that's the best way to make the most money long term, but it's a significant undertaking, and I'm glad we have an awesome staff to figure that out. The other piece is, we probably would be a good idea to wrap in the downtown business district and the small business, Southern Pines Business Association, because They would be a great help with regard to either bringing in the right folks to sort of continue to allow downtown to thrive with the great businesses we have down there, and more traction to those awesome folks down there. So I was just thinking that thing through. I'm a history nerd, and and I really love those old buildings and the best way to revitalize them and get them into the hands of somebody that can turn those into amazing little shops, places, businesses, however we decide is really, for me, the end state. Whether it's we decide to sell it off, or we still know that once, whatever our disposition is, then the historic district jumps in and says, okay, you now got to maintain these standards. So we'll always have a really beautiful, vibrant downtown, which is really important. And then if the Southern Pines Business Association down there can help us bring in the right people, the right folks, I think it's a win-win. However we decide, I'm really excited about it, especially coming off the heels of getting ready to move in to our new building April 1st.
Just make it March.
No, but I think it's really good.
This question I had is the timing. Like, when are you expecting a decision on this? I'll be hopeful that we can wait a little bit to see how the dust settles until we know exactly what our needs are. Both these buildings, I mean, I have great memories of them. One was the old library where I went as a kid, and the other one right there in the park. So it's, I'm hesitant to just say, oh, it makes fiscal sense. We got to sell them and throw that against the note and just make it all dollars and cents. So I would like to at least analyze the historical impact of them or other uses, like especially if we do know Parks and Rec, even for the admin building, can use it. I just want to explore all those before we make the decision purely on the money of it and not sort of the history. And we're not going to get those back. If anytime we sell a building, it's never coming back. So I want us to be very, very cautious in what decision we make.
I'm in no position to put you on a deadline to make a decision on this. This was as much as anything. We're all in the process of doing the budget and what we're going to bring to you on April 2nd, depending on what direction we're headed with this. If we know a direction, it changes how much we budget for things like utilities and cleaning and how much time we have to dedicate to the new building versus maybe keeping these up or not. And again, we'll deal with that with wherever council is on the question. So it's just, I wanted to get a sense, put it on your radar for starters, get a sense of if everybody here said, oh, yeah, we absolutely just need to sell it or we just need to lease it, then that would be a cue to us to at least start with some of these other things. Again, whether we move forward with an ADA ramp or not, as an example. We've got some window decisions to make relative to the finance building. Not anything that we need to be making if we're going to get rid of the building, but if we're going to lease it, we might need to look at doing that. Relative to being a landlord, there's a lot of ways to frame these leases, and how active a landlord we are or we aren't very much depends upon how that lease reads. What I did hear pretty consistently, and the budgeting side of me was very happy to hear, was that we didn't need any more $1 a year type of, here's a building and we'll come in when the HVAC breaks or the windows break or the roof is bad. That's not sustainable long term, at least with our historical approach to tax rates and things. So this was really just an opportunity to put it on your radar, give you an idea of some of the background stuff that, Bill, if you came in and you all decided that, oh, yep, we want to do X and we want it to happen next week, that might be a little tough depending on what that X is. So there is some work to be done regardless of what direction you go with it. But this, as much as anything, was just to begin the conversation and put on your radar some things that needed to occur in the background. I mean, a big part of it is particularly relative to the admin building. If you're going to do much of anything there, you really need to look at some zoning for it. Again, much of anything outside of the town using it. So if you're going to lease it or if you're going to sell it, you're going to want to zone it.
Zoning was going to be required regardless, right? on that one?
Yes, because it's FRR being in the middle of the park.
right?
Yeah, so you're going to look at a CB designation, I would suggest. And then it's a question of, are you just going to go with a general CB designation or out of recognition that it's sitting in the park and you're going to have to parcel it off somewhere, whether it's just the footprint or you include bushes or whatever you choose to do, and we can talk about the pros and cons of that. You may want to take a look at all of the proposed or all of the potential uses in the CB district. And if there are things on there that you say, that's great if it's down on New Hampshire or it's down the street on Broad, but I don't really want that in the corner of the park, then I think you want to subject yourself to a conditional zoning district and go through and remove uses that you don't want to see in the corner of your park before you go and market it to either lease it or sell it. Same thing across the street. If there are uses you don't want to see in the old library, right now it has a CB zoning on it. So it's wide open. I'm going to suggest you may want to have a discussion there, again, if you're going to sell it, about subdividing off a parcel, because you may want to look at maintaining for public access, persistent public access, the walkway in the front with the old town seal logo on it that also happens to connect over to the post office. And maybe the lot begins at the concrete sidewalk off of that, but you go ahead and give the landscaped area to whomever's going to purchase the building so that that can be kept and maintained and upgraded. So there's decisions to be made in advance of, but beyond the simple question of sell, lease, reuse. And that's all I was trying to get, was kind of the conversations started and the thoughts, so that the next time you're down there walking by it, you can look at it and go, even if I gave that up, I don't know that I want to take that out of the public spectrum. Or, hey, if it's all gone and somebody's taking care of it, great.
Postmaster would also like to move the post office. So if we're talking about carving off part of our property to benefit them, we need to make sure that we're not doing that with the thought that they're, my understanding is they just don't have space, like a potential future location, but if they're looking, at some point they'll find it.
Yeah. Because the other realities with these structures, as you may all recall, even with being in the historic district, even with being on registries and things, at the most, that protects them for a year if somebody does come in for a demolition permit. And there's some things that have to be gone through, and you can look at moving buildings and all sorts of things. But again, using the finance office, old library as an example, if you just sold that off as a lot, and I'll say right behind the sidewalk, theoretically, someone could come in with a bulldozer and build a new structure that fronts the sidewalk like most all the other buildings on Broad Street. I'm not here to pass judgment on whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, but you have to recognize it as a reality, unless you were to somehow deed restrict property or do some different things that also ultimately, of course, impact
Sale
whatever price you're going to receive for it. So there's trade-offs involved with all of that.
We considered, if we use that building on the green space as well.
That's
So
right.
Yeah, for downtown buildings, it makes more sense to have it up against the sidewalk, but, okay.
So, go ahead.
No, it's just,
I was going to say, I am totally in agreement with Bill Pate. You don't know what you got till it's gone. And I think that we would be foolish to dash into selling. I think it makes sense to either reuse or lease, and to, I think the gem that this town has is our downtown. And anything we do to sabotage that shows a recklessness on our part.
I don't know that I don't think we're sabotaging it even if we sold it. I think not all, 90% of the buildings downtown in the historic district are owned privately. And we have the HDC that protects that. I mean, I think when it comes to who pays for the nostalgia, I just don't think it's our taxpayers.
But I do appreciate your mention the conditional zoning, because that would be huge before any sale or lease, to have that ability. So I'll look at the CB and go through the uses and part of my.
And
due
BJ, did you have anything to add to that? I know I double checked myself with BJ that I was looking at zoning wise in the right direction, and I think we landed on exactly the same spot. So
I would add as a thought is that conditional zoning district can also really lock in a site plan. For example, if there's trees adjacent to the admin building, if there are certain ways you want to make sure the site is developed or is maintained, you can lock that in with a conditional zoning district. We can write it in advance and be extraordinarily prescriptive. The only downside is it could affect the value but something Reagan, the other issue is the thought might go through your head, well, we wait until we have someone who's interested in the property, see what they want to do with it, and then zone it. You don't want to open yourself up to that moment because you then are in a hearing where the entity you need to lease or buy it is asking you for the zoning. And you're better off just saying, we're going to zone it for the way we want it. And if that affects the value or that affects the opportunities for who could get in there, so be it.
And then the council needs to weigh those restrictions against if that price is reduced, whether it's rent or sale price, that difference, that delta, we're asking our taxpayers to pay for. And is it worth what we're asking them to pay, either on an ongoing basis or the initial sale value? And again, if we own it, we can take care of historic buildings all we want, but we're never going to get historic grants. We're never going to get historic tax credits. And we're never going to get tax income off the property where we would if it was owned by somebody else. So since we're not making a decision, I would say the information you provided in this packet, I'll look at you when I say it. The information you provided in this packet, I know you were part of it too, but it's great. Okay. Oh, Reagan, good job.
that was Jessica's, but the rest of this is.
It's a lot of good information, and I think that it is a big decision. What I would love to do is not feel rushed into making that decision, but at least we are talking about it and we can start working towards, where do we all fall on the spectrum of controlling property versus letting it go into the public market, and then we'll just narrow it down.
And I assume there's always the option for like some of one, like half and half. If we decide one building's worth, it's not all or nothing both.
No, these are two, they're both on here because we happen to be coming out of both buildings, but you could make one decision about one of those buildings that is completely the opposite of what you decide about the other one. They are two very separate entities.
Thank you.
Do you all have other questions on this for right now?
No, because I guess these numbers would suggest, obviously they suggest what we will be paying if we keep the property.
This was actually a study that was based on 2024 figures. So I can tell you now the
Okay.
utilities are more expensive now than they were in 2024 as an example. But rather than go through and pull all the bills from 2025, this was just so that you had an idea of
Right.
what's operating there. Because if they're sitting empty while we make a decision, I would suggest that some of these things clearly are not going to be as high. I mean, we're going to set a lower minimum and a higher maximum for the temperature in those buildings. There's still going to be HVAC in the middle of July,
Right.
and there's still going to be heating if we're sitting through what's been here for the last couple months. But they're not going to be kept at a temperature to be inhabited on a daily basis from 9 to 5. So same thing, water usage isn't going to be there, sewer usage isn't going to be there, but they are hooked up and they will be paying minimum bills. We probably will not be providing garbage to them because there won't be anybody in there using them unless we were to use the one building for Parks and Rec or programming or something. But
Can I ask one last question, Reagan?
Yes.
Sir. Since we are going to be deliberate about this decision, are there any other town needs that would necessitate us? Do we suspect that there are any other town needs that would necessitate us to keep both these buildings, one of these buildings? And the reason why I ask is as you look at the figures, and I'm not driven by money, but I do think what you said is it's a very salient point. At what point do we reach the cost benefit analysis as we look at our constituents and say, hey, and I understand the whole part about renting, and we'd all love to be, owning multi-million-dollar pieces of property, but at the end of the day, I don't think any of us in this room is actually going to own either one of these two beautiful pieces of property. And I think that we just need to, if there was something that could say, you could come back to me and say, hey, Bob, we're all inside the main building now, and, this is our overflow, and we need to have building X and Y, and this is the reason why. That would definitely help. And I think when we heard the assistant town manager, Mr. Mike Cameron, he said, we're going to slowly and deliberately infiltrate the new building to ensure that all the spaces are properly assessed, right, and utilized. I think, are we in a rush, I guess would be my question. Are we rushing to, or you're just giving us this information and letting us chew on it and have sleepless nights that,
As many sleepless nights as we can get out of it.
I
yeah.
mean, relative to your initial
I just said,
question.
I know it's just huge.
It is.
It's
And
huge.
It's
And I don't wanna
part of
be
the reason
quick.
it's on, I guess, today's agenda is from the time we started talking about town hall needs, we had looked at these numbers on these buildings.
Yeah.
On maintenance and renovations and all those costs. And from the moment that we knew we were going to have a town hall, then it became apparent something is going to have to happen. And so really, this is just a reminder that at some point we do need to make a decision, but there is no rush or pressure to do that on one or either building. We could decide one building now and one building next year. I don't want to do that, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't have to be at the same time either.
That point, another thing to consider, if y'all may already have, as the move into the new building happens, are there other buildings that maybe become vacant that aren't these two, that a department could move into one of these? I don't know, is there an option where maybe it's another building we need to get rid of if one of these is going to be used?
Long-term plan, these are the two buildings that get completely vacated. Ultimately, we are looking at a couple of different options over at the community development space, or that campus, I'm going to say, relative to getting recreation moved out of the Campbell House. So we'll probably be having some discussion about the Campbell House. You'll recall we started that back when the Arts Council was looking for the long term. Outside of that, the library is the library. The police department's the police department. Fire stations are fire stations. The only other building that you're really operating out of, unless I'm forgetting something, is the DCC, which is kind of the senior center, and you have that building as a result of a donation that said, please run senior programs here.
What, is the IT department moving or are they staying?
They are not moving into the town hall.
Okay, okay. So there's potentially space there if they move out?
That's when I talk about recreation moving to the campus there.
Okay,
It
might be
may be to backfill areas, for instance, that the planning office finds themselves in now. It could be IT moves over there and recreation works in the building IT's in. We're also using those moves, and I've been talking with Chief as we look at, and when you talk about reuse of these and do you have other needs, the most pressing need is going to be that fleet garage that you've all kind of visited. And so we're trying to look at space and relocation of people and how we might be able to make that, that project a little more palatable. So yeah, but again, with that, we're just on the front end of kind of planning the backfill part of it, because we're still trying to get people into the new space.
Okay. What I would recommend is maybe now that we have this information in front of us, if council members have specific questions or zoning considerations, to just sit down with staff or compile those questions and we'll bring it back and discuss it at a later time.
Okay,
If that
sounds
works.
great.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you for the good conversation.
All right, and now we have Tess with our fiscal year 2026 mid-year financial update. I really appreciate I don't know if it was Tess or Reagan, one of you, that did the information on the front end of that update. Yes.
I did that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was very
in full
helpful.
consultation with Tess, just to make sure it was accurate.
To have.
I'm sick again.
Oh,
I was sick when we
sorry.
did this last year, and here I go again.
She told me today, don't dare ask me to ever speak to council again.
It'd be stress related, perhaps. Yeah.
So BJ, if you
Oh, thanks.
So this first slide is just looking at sales tax. And you guys get this report monthly, and we did a budget amendment in January to recognize a little bit of excess to help. Was it for the reservoir?
It was the Reservoir of the Whitehall project.
Yeah. And the
And one
financing for
other.
the first payment
Oh,
for
yeah,
town
and the
hall.
payment of town hall.
Yes. Yeah.
That little
So-
thing, yeah.
I will say that Brooke and I were at a conference last week, and an economist spoke to us and said that the sales tax is leveling out. It's not going to see the large year-over-year growth that we've seen. It said some places it might even decline, so we do have that on our horizon. Thank you. This is the current year property tax collections through January 31st, and as you can see, we've collected more than what we budgeted, so we feel very comfortable with our projections for the rest of the year. Next is your mid-year fund balance update. Last year, we were just over 10 million, so I feel like we feel comfortable with this number too, especially it was about $1 million over what it was last year, and since we did that paving transfer back into the general fund, this number is pretty good place to be sitting.
We've got about $3 million worth of paving. The bid is out now, but we've got a lot of paving coming up this spring, so.
Schedule A is a very broad summary of the general fund, and it's supported by Schedule B, which is much more detailed. So I'd rather dive into Schedule B than A, and we can come back to A if anybody has any questions. But all I really wanted to point out with Schedule B is that you'll see like the video programming tax, that's been going down year over year. That's your streaming is cutting into your tax collections there, excuse me. And the inspection fees are down tremendously. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to John Bullock about if he had any other big projects on the horizon. And
Nothing that's guaranteed by June 30th, no.
so I expect we're going to see a shortfall in that category. On the next page, the waste collection fees, in Reagan's memo, he said you'll see some of these that you would think they would be like, we should be halfway there. This is a large one that we do accrue back. We bill in July for June, and then we accrue it back to the proper year. So that's why some of these numbers don't look like complete half and half numbers.
Like one specific category? When you say that?
It's several different categories
Okay.
that we do that for.
Okay.
Waste collection is just one of the bigger ones that you can see.
Large number that it's obvious it's not half and half, but it's because it's 5 months, not 6.
Okay.
All the other departments to me look very well in line. No big red flags for me. If you go to the last page, BJ, I think it says Schedule C, please. Excuse me, this is the water sewer. And the only two real points I had here is the service charges, as we suspended the $6 fee ongoing, and we had suspended the disconnect fees for a couple of months. That's where that's being reflected. And the debt service payments, that's the Isadra loan that James secured. And we haven't gotten a schedule for the first payment for that because I think it depends upon when the project's completed, then we
yeah.
start. But the initial amortization schedule showed a payment in this year, so we scheduled it, but we're unsure if it's, I don't think we'll see it this fiscal year, so,
If we do, it'll be very late in the fiscal year,
yeah. But we did budget for it, so that's there.
Can you speak to the actual reconnect cost as opposed, we had talked last time, and we did not make a motion though, to move from 20 to 25 on a reconnect fee. And that's actually one of the things I have on Roundtable. I did not know I'd be fortunate enough to have you here. Can you speak to whether or not that makes sense to go from $20 to $25 on a reconnect, and what sort of, how that would benefit or not benefit?
That fee has been $20 since I've been here. So I
had made a recommendation that it moved to 25, particularly in lieu of waiving the late fee and doing everything that we were, because 25 doesn't even cover the staff time and stuff that leads
That's what I
up
thought.
to attempts to collect and then shutting off. What happened though, if you go back and review my memo when we did the formal action to change the code.
Right.
The fee itself is embedded in your appendix that contains the fee. So I actually intended to bring that back because I think there might have been one or two of you that thought you were approving the $25 that night also. And because we weren't amending the fee schedule, it
Right.
still remains $20. I was going to bring it back, discuss at retreat. Hey, the new fee schedule will contain, after you all decide what you're doing with water and sewer rates, I was going to suggest embedding it in the new fee schedule, and then as of July 1st, it would move to the $25.
Right, and I am among those one or two who thought we had done that. I thought your memo was really thoughtful, and I thought it was a nice compromise. And I also have been fortunate enough to spend some time in the water and finance departments, and I know the efforts that those folks go to before there is actually a reconnection problem. And I also know that with the waiver of the late fee, we had people, when we finally did the reconnect, put that back in place, there were people who had disconnected as early as June or July and had been 6 months out, so with no reconnect. And I would like to encourage people and also to not run a big deficit. I've struggled with it because I don't know whether it's a regressive tax, and I've asked people in the department about whether or not the folks who are subject to the reconnection are lower socioeconomic, and they're not necessarily. They're people sort of, for the most part, I think they're people working the system. So I would at some point be a big advocate of raising that to at least 25 as far as a reconnect fee, taking into consideration that those are people who have put out our town staff and that we are working at a loss every time we have to do that. And again, I know there have been chances and notifications and notes hung on doors and emails and phone calls and all sorts of outreach prior to that becoming something that we move forward with. I applaud the humanity that is shown through the water department and the finance department. And I would like to support them and make their job easier and also to recover some of that. I thought your compromise suggestion was a really good one. So at whatever point, and I don't know that it makes sense to make, I mean, it's not on the agenda, so we really can't make a motion tonight to do that. But I would love to see that put on the next agenda to address that fee, unless people are just opposed to that, and we're gonna, it's gonna go down in flames. But I think that would be a really good show of support to the department and to the community.
Again, it's not hard to bring the fee schedule in here and make that singular amendment to it, but happy to.
That would be my request, but I'd like to hear from other council members as to whether or not they join me in that.
I actually would like to get through our financial update, and then if we're going to have a discussion where we expect input from, I guess, our council members, we'll put it on the agenda so that everyone can prepare thoughts.
Okay.
All right.
I was just going to point out the bottom line, your retained earnings, and you can see that's plus the 1.6 million, and it probably speaks to what we were saying earlier with James, that, you know, we're trying to prepare for some bigger projects that are on the horizon. If there are any questions?
Did
I
you
brought
wanna
the lady
jump-
with all the answers.
Did you want to jump back to Schedule A?
Sure.
Was there something at least that we should take note of on A?
Schedule B, basically,
Oh, summarizes it?
is the
Behind
it's a
Schedule A.
summary.
Schedule A is the aggregation of everything you're going to
Yes.
find in Schedule B.
Then we don't even need to go back to A. That's great.
In the not so distant future, we have a big budget meeting. Are you ladies there as well through that?
And Tess is not there. She is there.
It's like a voice on high, yeah.
Even when you don't know.
Not there, and then her voice comes in over the speaker.
Rookie tip, don't say anything mean about Tess because she is in the room, whether you can see her or not.
She's the real hamburger grinder. I get it. Awesome.
Question.
This is, I mean, it's great to see this ahead of the budget retreat.
Right, it's great.
Yep, to see where we lie. Are there no other questions?
Sorry you
Okay.
feel badly.
I know, get better.
Thanks, Tess. Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you both.
All right, are we having Jessica come back for our Sustainovates? Great.
So I know that you've had to listen to people in this room talk to you for multiple hours now, so you're not going to hear much from me at all. I have a couple videos so that you can hear directly from our team who has participated in Sustainovates. My goal today is one, to briefly introduce Sustainovates to Bob, because you probably know nothing or very little about it. And then kind of continuing the spirit of having some of these budget discussions ahead of time. I wanted to give you a mid-year report on where we are with Sustainovates, because it's been very successful this year. And so I would like to ask for your consideration in funding it for next year, because this was the first year. So what I have given you, the first 2 pages were actually in your packet, and this is the handout that we've made available to staff that tells them what the program is, it tells them how to submit their ideas, and then the next few pages are an overview of the various projects that are being piloted. Some are already complete, some had funding requests, some didn't require any, and so it gives you, there's all kinds of really great things going on. That's
We all
her
just
Red
found
Bull.
Best Picture.
Yes.
And Graham.
Yes, Graham.
Yep.
Yes. So, BJ, can you show that one first? Yes, thank you. This is
What
a,
if there was an easier way to do this? What if we could make Southern Pines even better? What if your what if became a let's try it? Introducing Southern Pines Sustainovates, a new initiative that helps town employees turn great ideas into real change. Southern Pines Sustainovates gives every employee the time, support, and encouragement to explore creative solutions without high risk or big costs. It's your chance to experiment, learn what works, and make our workplace, processes, and communities stronger. The program's very first idea came from Amanda Brown, the library director, who also created the Sustainovates logo. Her design reflects growth, creativity, and the Southern Pines spirit.
The logo is just about the process of getting an idea, getting a great idea, and then hopefully trying to share that idea.
Let's hear about her submission to make daily life at the library easier and more efficient.
The idea was to get robot vacs. So it's a pretty simple idea. The library is 14,000 square feet, a little over. And we, because we're open to the public, and a large portion of that is open to the public, we're open every day. Our custodial staff spend a ton of time vacuuming the library. There's a lot of buildings to get through, a lot of different types of areas that need cleaned. So when they're here very early, their starts pretty thin. So the idea was if we got some robot vacs, maybe that would actually help the whole project.
Amanda's submission reminds us that innovation can start anywhere and that a small idea can have a big impact. Planning Director BJ Grieve sees Sustainovates as a chance to open new doors for collaboration, creativity, and smarter ways to serve the community.
Well, I think that Sustainovates is an important step for Southern Pines because it's acknowledging that everybody on the team, everybody within the organization has the capacity for a great idea. Not just a great idea to save money for the citizens, but also potentially a great idea to just make it a better place to work and improve the culture and improve the morale. The diversity of possible topics that can be, the diversity of possible projects that can be used really lend itself to just creative ideas and just great ways to kind of make it a better place to work.
When employees are empowered to innovate, we all move forward together. Some ideas will work and some won't, and that's okay. Because trying new things and learning along the way is the Southern Pines way. So whether it's a new tool, a fresh process, or a creative fix, if it can make a difference, we want to hear it. Your ideas, our support, let's try it. Submit your idea today at sopinesnc.info/myidea because the future of Southern Pines starts with you.
I want to give kudos to Courtney for producing that video. That video was a pilot on its own. That was her first kind of full narrated production. I think she did a fantastic job. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of what the program is. This first year, we had $30,550, which was 0.1% of the FY 24-25 adopted budget. At this point, we have authorized all of those funds, so it's been very well received, and we've had some great projects. So I'll be asking for around $32,000 for next year. There's a list on the back that talks about all of the projects that have been approved. As part of their approval process, they sit down with Mike and I, and sometimes the projects are ready to go with very little input or refinement from us. Other times we help them tweak some things, or in several occasions, we've successfully helped them expand a little bit to bring in some collaboration from some other departments or some individual staff members that we know of resources. And so it's really nice to be able to offer that benefit in-house. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but the only other two things I had to kind of quickly close this out, we have one shorter video from Courtney of our coffee crawl that we recently completed, and then BJ also has a project that was approved that he's going to share with you.
I know, right? I know. I know, I was like, I'm pretty sure I get paid. Like, I don't know why you don't think I work here. Yeah, I can pay for my own coffee on my budget. Maybe just one cup of coffee, but still.
To be fair, we all paid for our own.
Also, go Heels. My favorite part of the coffee crawl was going to Java Bean because I've never been before, and their lattes were great. My favorite part of the coffee crawl was getting to know new places and Southern Nights.
I really enjoy being able to interact with coworkers that I don't usually see during coffee crawl. That was a big highlight of mine.
My favorite part was meeting and seeing new faces around town that I've never seen before.
My favorite part was trying the different coffees at different businesses around town.
My favorite thing about the coffee crawl was finding new places to get coffee and supporting local businesses.
I really enjoyed going to the Morris Ciega. Great place to go. The first time I've been there, enjoyed the coffee. Also had great conversations with members of our community who enjoyed seeing us communicate and work with each other outside of our normal work.
So that was obviously a really good culture building activity for our team. You know, with our team working 24/7 in all these different buildings, I mean, we literally don't see each other sometimes. And so I really want to thank Courtney for bringing that idea. And you'll read in here, but it was also sparked to help support our local businesses. And the reception that we got from every business, they were just thrilled to have, 30 of us walk through on a Wednesday morning in January and, support their business. So, so we're figuring some other ways to continue that idea through other seasons. Maybe there's an ice cream crawl or something like that in the summer. So I'm going to turn it over to BJ, and then that'll conclude our Sustainavates, unless you have any questions.
This will be fun, I promise. Okay, so as you all know, I had an opportunity to do the Civic Fellows program at UNC last fall. And it was spectacular. It was really, really good. And one of the main parts of the curriculum talks about the importance of value building within your organization, and how organizational studies show that organizations that start with organization-wide values and adopt a mission statement and put it on the wall doesn't get a lot of buy-in. People just kind of walk by it. Some people don't even know that the organization has a mission statement. They can't say much about it. But organizations that start with personal values and then grow to team values and then work into organizational values, that has better uptake. So I came back from that thinking, gosh, how can we have organizational values. We've adopted the TOSP. And what I noticed about this initiative was it was put together by a committee. It was not exclusively top down, it was, and what I thought about this was, holy cow, we have these TOSP values adopted. What can we do to raise awareness and increase meaningfulness? Like it already exists out there, but right now I kind of felt like it came out strong. And then, so I started thinking about how I could do that, but as an organization-wide initiative, I couldn't really take it out of planning's budget, to do something. So I came up with an idea with Courtney's help, because I was actually chatting with her about these different ideas I had for like doing values exercises. There's these cards that we got at Civic Fellows, but I was like, wait, me and a set of cards, I can't go out and talk to 200 something employees. This isn't going to work. So Courtney actually brought up the idea of challenge coins, and we had talked about challenge coins before, and it was something that would be,
Microphone.
oh man, whoops, all of that missed from the record. I guess I'm going to start.
Our planning director just said lots of good things about the TOSP.
Yeah.
TOSP, the Southern Pines Way.
Pines Way.
And workplace culture.
So that wasn't going to be feasible. We wanted to come up with something. So after spitballing a little bit, the idea was to do challenge coins that look like this. Okay. And then this idea, I submitted it as a Sustainavates grant, a small grant, because again, it couldn't really come out of planning. I wanted it to be organizational wide, and I really wanted to come up with something meaningful that could, and my two primary objectives were increase the awareness that we have these 4 values, what the 4 values are, and then increase meaningfulness. And I felt like the best way to do that was going to be for us to order enough coins for every employee of the town to get 2 coins. One that a supervisor gives to that person when they do something reflective of teamwork, opportunity, superior service, or pride, to really recognize them, to really take that moment and to connect. And then importantly, possibly more importantly, the second coin. And the second coin is a challenge to that employee to then think about those 4 values and pass that along to someone that they recognize that exhibits that. So that's the moment when they go, oh, cool, I got a coin, and that has meaning. But then they're like, and I only have one to now give to somebody, so who am I going to give it to? Why? What does this mean to me? So we did do that, and everybody got their coins. And so far, they're being handed out slowly, because it's not like you just, you don't just throw them on your coworkers or your employees' desks. You actually wait till there's a meaningful moment. And it's been going really, really well, because we've gotten all kinds of comments. So, for example, Corey, and our street superintendent, Assistant Public Works Director, street superintendent. I got that wrong one time, and he was like, "Oof, man." So I just got really nervous all of a sudden. I was like, "Wait, yeah, Corey Albers." I should say Corey Albers. There you go. So he got these, and pretty soon afterwards we had the big snowstorm, and he had people working long hours, and he was able to recognize them using these coins. And John Bullock passed along a story to me where he gave a coin to one of his inspection staff, and a few days later, they came back and he had it in his pocket. He was carrying it with him because it was meaningful to him. And so as the rest of the department heads, as they hand out their coins, they're kind of giving me little stories back about how they were meaningful. And so I wanted to give you guys coins because on behalf of our planning team, we had a staff meeting, we talked about this. And you guys, the council doesn't necessarily feel it or recognize it, but your support of our team's work is consistent with all four of those values. I mean, it feels like teamwork. You're providing us the opportunity to do our work meaningfully. You are providing superior service because we can make sure that Southern Pines stays Southern Pinesy and consistent with the comprehensive plan. And it just gives everybody a tremendous amount of pride to live, work, and play here, and we're proud to work here. And the council has a big part in that for us by staying in communication with us. So I really wanted all of you all to have your 2 coins, one for you, and then I would also challenge you to take your additional coin and give it to someone that is also does something consistent with teamwork, opportunity, superior service, and pride. And I think they're a lot of fun. It was a very small grant. I think it was $1,500 for the coins, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without Sustainovates because it wasn't going to come out of planning's budget. It was too big of an effort, too organization-wide, yet such a small thing to be able to do. So as these are handing out, I really think they're having a lot of meaningful impact for a moment for a supervisor to talk with an employee and recognize them. And everybody, by the way, all the department heads are doing it a little bit differently. That's been another thing is that when I first got them, I had this vision for how it was going to go, and I realized right away it wasn't going to work that way because every department's so different. So I actually met one-on-one with all the department heads, sometimes multiple times, to talk with them about the vision of raising awareness and increasing meaningfulness. And after that, you do it how you want. And everybody came up with actually a slightly different take on it, how to do it. And so it's neat hearing the stories back. Thank you for your patience.
BJ, this is great.
So this is fantastic. Do you want us, for our donating or giving coin, anybody in town who's doing that, or to a staff member that we encounter with Southern Pines?
You know, based on my conversations with the department heads, the best thing I learned was anything that's meaningful to you for teamwork, opportunity, superior service, and pride. It can be somebody outside the organization, inside the organization, whatever feels meaningful to you, whatever really resonates with you and speaks to you, that's what I would ask you to do, because that's had the most effect. It's the heartfelt moment.
So I don't know that we earned one of these. So do we give them both away, or do we hold on to one?
Well, my thinking going into this was merely, I would like all 5 of you to have one from the planning department.
Okay.
But if you would like to give them away, be my guest. It's whatever speaks to you.
Okay.
And if you feel that it would be meaningful to you to have 2 to give away, that sounds great.
Okay. This is really neat. It's a great idea. I love that I love that you involved us in it, and that we can, it's not always easy for the 5 of us to express our appreciation for your all's work, especially the people who don't come to our council meetings, because we really see, the head of departments, and that's kind of it. But there's so much work done by our individual staff. So what a cool idea that we can actually show appreciation to some of them through the coins. Do you guys have other questions for BJ? All right. Thank you. Yep. And I'm so glad to hear the Sustainovates program is going well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as far as community culture and buy-in from our employees, like, what a great thing to say, you guys are the ones with boots on the ground. You have the ideas, bring them. Yeah.
And when you look, you'll see it's so many departments, so many, you probably won't even recognize some of the names.
Yep.
Ideas are coming together.
Very cool. Thank you. Okay, so planning department update. What's going on, BJ?
Very easy this month. I'm just going to give you a handout. This is a handout that has all of the upcoming agenda items for March 10th Town Council. Current, because sometimes these, as you know, can get continued. These are all the items that are on the agenda for the March Town Council. March Historic District Commission and March Planning Board. And the other thing is the QR code is on the bottom now. And these are the QR code stickers that went on the signs that are on site posted. And I thought we had some extras, so I thought you all might, if you scan this QR code, it takes you to pending applications. I know the mayor said she wanted to put one on the back of her car. And,
That might be a bit too far.
if you'd like, we can get a little magnet and stick it to the magnet, and you can put it, that might work.
It would be
But
better if it's removable. Yeah.
I
No,
would
but I
just-
think this is great. Can I give you and your department some kudos real fast for this? You're not going to say no to
I would
that.
like nothing more than to pass
Okay.
that along to our wonderful team.
So I received a call on February 4th, 3rd, 5th, 6th, one of those days, about one of the historic districts, an HD sign. There's also a Z sign downtown. And it was a call from someone in the community saying, hey, it's up in front of this building. Can you just tell me what it is? And I was like, you know what? I actually cannot tell you what it is because I do go to all the meetings, but I am not aware of all the projects because they don't come to us first. And so I called BJ and I said, you know what? For someone who goes to all the town council meetings to not even know what's happening, next door, across the street, or whatever's happening, it would be so nice if on those signs there was an easy way to access the projects. And BJ said, well, there is a phone number in our website. And I was like, but what if instead of them picking up the phone and calling, because I feel like the resident who called me picked up the phone and called me, but didn't feel comfortable calling the planning department. If they could just quickly scan something, and it was less than 2 weeks later that these were printed and going on signs all over our community. So a super quick implementation, problem solving, and I really appreciate your quick uptick on the idea and implementation. Thank you. You're not going to say anything. You turn on your mic and then turn it back off. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. I think that is awesome.
Is this a sticker? Is that what this is? Oh.
Yep. So now if you're wandering around town and you have a question and there's a sign, you can just scan it.
They look really good on Toyota 4Runners too.
Right, keep it up.
Did you have anything on? I think it's great to have this printed out too. Anything on here that you want to tell us, or just distribute?
We talked about this. We knew it was going to be running late. It was going to be a long agenda, so I put it down. If you have any questions about it, happy to answer them. The QR code essentially takes you to all these files. So if you're curious about any of them, they're all posted on pending applications. One of the things we're going to do now that we're doing the QR code is we're going to leave anything when it gets continued. It's going to stay on there because the sign will still be out there.
Yep.
It used to be we took it down so that we didn't get. Well, we're going to leave stuff up there a little bit longer. We'll see how that goes, but that QR code will become more useful as a repository for all of our currently pending stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right, moving on to unless there are questions for our planning department. Are there any? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our council roundtable. Who would like to get us started this evening?
I'll go first. I just had a couple quick things. And I know, while I could be here all night, I do know that some other folks have things to do. So real quick, if it's all right with the boss guy to my right here, I'd like to circle back with BJ and those guys. I've been getting some great feedback on the preservation and grants and things like that. And as we prioritize this as a long-term project, I'd just like to, obviously not this week because I am heading up to Chapel Hill with Mac and Jessica, and I'm really excited about that, and I appreciate that opportunity to go up there to the School of Government. I know at the end of the 2 days, my eyes will be watering and bleeding, but I'm excited about it. So there are some CLG grants and stuff that I'd love to discuss with you just from historical perspective. We do have some deadlines, but we don't necessarily need to do them here. But I was wondering if it's okay if I just circle back maybe within a week or so with you all, and then you could provide an update to everyone else and then see where we need to go if that would be appropriate with you all. So that's one thing, because there's a lot of resources and a lot of stuff, and I know I brought up the project, so I want to make sure that I continuously stay connected, and I hate to be one of those guys that brings up a problem and no solution, so I definitely want to help there. I just had a couple other quick things, and then I will be done. And this is based on a lot of feedback I've been getting from some folks. As you know, new guy, he gets everything, and I love it. I really embrace it. Two questions here for this one. Could someone confirm that the date that's for the next Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, have that as every second Tuesday? So the next one's at the 4th. Do we have a staff responsibility? Or is that kind of like we see an issue, we see a problem, and then we're going to go ahead and the staff will go ahead and move to the sound of the guns, for lack of better terms, the old Army guy in me. I just had a bunch of requests for information on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, where we're at with it, and I just want to make sure that I'm tracking like a blue tick hound in the deep dark south before I respond to this email. So if I could also maybe next week when I get back, circle back with some of the guys if that's all right, and just kind of sort that out. And then this one is directed at me, and I kind of really need some quick little information. Do we have, and if we do, when do we meet? Sort of the technical review committee, so where you kind of go in and hash everything out, and do we? Is that something I need to get back with you as well? Technical review committee. Do we have one of those here, or do we?
We do. So I think BJ has it, and it's hosted in the planning department, and it is open to the public. I think that there's only a concern about attendance from the council members if there's potential quasi-judicial hearings being discussed ahead of time. But
Right.
BJ can get you that information on agendas or the dates.
Every Tuesday at 1:30. And we do have members of the public come from time to time. There was a gentleman named Joel who came for a few months. He was very interested just to see how the process worked, what was going on, and he learned a lot from that.
And that's really what, yeah. And the piece of that is like Madam Mayor was saying, if there's a part where you need to, I'm sure you have no qualms asking council members to leave, which would be great, because otherwise I'd just sit in there like a mushroom, just taking everybody's light.
You're welcome to attend, and it can be very interesting depending on the file. It can also be very, very boring and very technical. It is a technical review committee, so it does get very in the weeds. We dealt with a project today. I think my observation has been that people think it's more interesting than it is, because usually people come 1 or 2 or 3 times and then stop coming. Because it's just
kind of
very
where the
technical,
hamburgers grind,
sewer
right?
standards, parking standards, things like that on projects. Yeah.
It's worth going to one.
That's what I was thinking.
Because I feel like it's seeing what happens in the background before it ever comes to us, and the different parties all in one room, all providing input on applications. It's a neat dynamic to not participate in, but to see.
Well, sometimes it's before it comes to you. Sometimes it's the site plan type stuff after it's already come through, because you'll often hear that detail gets worked out at site plan, and depending on the meeting you're sitting in, you might actually see that detail being worked through.
Cool.
And the rest can wait till we're at our next meeting. So that would be really good. I'd like to sit on one of them. I'll go ahead and let you know in advance when the next one, and hey, I might want to sit in, and you could kind of just say, this might be a tough one. The reason why I would tell you this, so you guys kind of know the transparency. If I could use a baseball analogy that I may have overused, but since we were talking about the Sand Hills Bogies today, there's a classic movie out there on baseball, and it's Field of Dreams, and it's always about, if you build it, they will come. And in other words, you build a baseball field in the middle of Iowa, you're going to get baseball players. But in the same token, if you build a football field in the middle of Nebraska, you're going to get football players. And it's kind of my approach to Southern Pines. What we build is what is going to attract people here. And as much as I can ingest in what is going on a 3-hour and 23-minute session is really important to me, so that I can answer the hard mail when it does come my way, and not push everything off on you guys, but make sure that we're talking the same language, so people understand that we are a team as a town council and a town staff, and that we work together. And that's really what my personal goal here, personal end state here is, and that's why I'd like to get involved, just to witness and see sort of the hamburger being ground.
I think it'll help you understand some of the process.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Kurt, you're welcome to attend any and all Tuesdays at 1:30. I can also, if you'd like, reach out to you when we have one that has a good sampling of things, such
That would
as a
be-
pre-app, plus a site plan, plus a few other things, and, an hour and a half, 3 agenda items, something like that, where I'm thinking, oh, this would be a great one for him to kind of see the totality. And then we can even debrief afterwards.
That'd be great.
Just to talk about what all this is. And I encourage anyone to attend that meeting and then give me their thoughts afterwards, from council to citizens, anybody. It's fine. It's open.
And the last
Boring,
thing
but
I,
open.
I would say before I close my notes, everybody does talk, ma'am, about our staff. And as the new guy sitting in here now, I guess I can no longer, I'm still the newest on the staff, but once you're 60, 90 days in, you don't get to use that moniker anymore. The staff's been phenomenal. Reagan, you guys are absolutely amazing. I know I ask a lot of questions, and then I ask them again in a different way, and I get the clarity that each and every time. So I do appreciate that very, very much. I'm not usually good at giving those types of accolades, but I figured I'm losing my moniker of the shiny guy now. So I do appreciate all that you guys do for us. Thank you.
I don't have anything in particular, but I will build off of Bob's "if you build it" comment. Sometimes things we put in place years, and it takes a while. I did notice Bennett Street sidewalk is complete, and it's nice to see it all the way through. So kudos for a long time coming, and I'm glad it's finished.
Ahead of schedule.
Bennett Street
Oh.
is fully, I mean, it was like they did a little bit every year on that little.
It's nice to see it done.
It's finally finished.
Bill and I attended the Tri-Cities meeting this afternoon for lunch. Had some updates on legislative happenings in Raleigh. I attended the North Carolina Mayor's meeting. Was that 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. A lot of the same conversation, but I am really I'm really happy to be a part of that group. I feel like it's one of the most just rewarding meetings to go to. Talking to other mayors from like-sized towns, similar struggles, similar accomplishments. We're so lucky. I mean, just Southern Pines is such a great place. We have a great council. We have a great staff. It's a wonderful place to be, and it was neat to see it from that perspective from other mayors who are going through similar stuff to recognize how lucky we are. I had a meeting with the head of the small business group at Sandhills? No. Oh, no, I mean, I attended that too. I don't know what they're called. That's what it is, Small Business Center at SEC, talking about some of the things happening in the area, businesses coming in. They're looking at maybe offering some classes that might benefit some of our downtown merchants. I got to talk about our conditional zoning because they asked what we were doing to open up opportunities for daycare centers, and they loved that was an opportunity inside communities. I mentioned the ADUs and ACUs, which they also loved as well. And this is something that I was giving you sort of an eyeball when you're talking about the administration building. An idea that somebody brought to me about a property we don't own, which we can't really do, but having like a wall of ideas. The administration building is so central to downtown that you get so many people walking by it. What if I know that the sign out there is covered with glass or plastic or whatever, but if there were a way for people to, like a board that they could put ideas on of like, what would you like to see here? Kind of like what we did at the train annex. But I feel like more central location, you'll actually get more feedback. And then what the Small Business Center said is that they have a lot of people who want to start businesses. And so if we have something like that where people are saying like, I would love to see this downtown, or I'd love to see this, that puts the ideas out there for people who want to start businesses, even if it's not in that building, but they say, oh, like people, that's a good idea. But also can maybe give our council some feedback on what would they like to see happen, on a major corner downtown. You like it? All right.
I think that's just sort of, I think that's spectacular.
Okay, cool.
I think that we could get some really neat, we could glean some stuff in our planning world.
Right.
Topics to explore, think about.
And
Research.
it's one of the questions that was brought up at the SPBA meeting last week as well, which was, what is the town doing to think about how these vacant lots or redeveloping lots, how do those businesses or opportunities fit into our existing town, which we can't really do because there is a free market, and we have, some laws on that. But maybe this is a way that we can get some input on like what makes sense, and then how do we tailor either our offerings, or how do we, go tell someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, like, hey, there's a lot of people who think this would be a great idea. Start a business. Yeah. Okay, that's all. I'm sure I'm forgetting things, but.
People think this should be a tire center.
You got a few, yeah, right, I was gonna say.
An apartment building.
Oh. Patrick's Point looks good, by the way, but anyway, I'm not going there. The Martin Luther King service was postponed till the 15th, and it was just another display of the diversity and the beauty of our Southern Pines town. Pastoring in Lee Town, having pastored close to Chatham County, and realizing that in other communities we don't have that, they don't have that type of diversity and connectivity and inclusivity. It just, everybody's in their own silos, and that's not that way here. Southern Pines United Methodist Church Choir was featured. They sung 2 selections. Then they also had, I forget what Rod Brower's choir is called, but they had, they call it I don't know, Moore County, I don't know what they call it. But anyway, they sang too. David Helms, who was the former pastor of First Baptist, was there. He did the benediction. He did even a prayer of all of the ministers gathered together. But they had Pastor Gilchrist, who was the speaker for the evening. It was just beautiful. I represented the council, told everybody, best council in town, and we are best council anywhere. And it was just a nice event. And again, just another display of the beauty of Southern Pines. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
The last Board of Delegates meeting was canceled due to weather, so I don't have a report on that. I do have a report because I talked to Greg tonight, and I expect that you all are, both, particularly Jessica's probably in the loop. I asked about Dot Brower's concern that Douglas Center was not available after 6 p.m., and apparently that's being worked on. He said he's just waiting for a form to be approved, so I want to be able to report back to folks who'd asked me about that.
Before you go further, at some point we should probably coordinate who's going to follow up, because I think you, me, and Deborah all followed up on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we'll
there we
figure
go.
out. Okay.
Great. So
I mean,
people
good,
know
yes,
it's important.
but- yeah.
I have, yeah, sure. What I understood from Greg was it was going to be a 4-hour block that would be, just the block would be set back later. And I understand the security issues and the getting into the building issues and out of the building.
So I just want to clarify, I did send an email. I don't know if everyone's seen my email, but I just want to clarify, any of our buildings are available in the evenings now after 6 hours, or after 6 p.m. The only change that was made is we use Civic Rec software, which automatically approves rentals and reservations and program registrations once you pay your fee. So now you could sign up for the rental block from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And if you pay your fee and it's available, you're automatically approved with no review by staff. So we've continued. Someone could go and ask the staff today. So we're not waiting on a form or anything like that.
Great.
Councilman Gray and I spoke last week, and she asked if we could have a low-tech option of a paper form. And yes, that's accurate. They have prepared that, and they sent it to me to review. But I just want to clarify, it's available today. Anybody could do it. It always has been. So
That's great.
yeah, I don't
know. That was a misinformation that had gotten out there, and we had a lot of people upset. So thank you.
Sure.
That's great. A complaint that I've had is that some of the streetlights on Broad are out, and I usually go down before I voice this complaint and say, yeah, they're out, but I haven't checked that. So there we go. A bug that I'd like to put in everybody's ear is that I'm still, first of all, hats off to Anna for her article in the paper about the sedimentation and the water issues, et cetera, et cetera. If we are going to reach MS4 population and have to have a sedimentation guru, for lack of a better term, I would suggest that we might want to consider finding that person, putting them in place before it is mandated, because I think we've got some pretty serious issues in regard to that. I'm interested in I had once talked with the council about a left turn lead light onto Indiana. I know that's a DOT issue because you're coming off of May Street and going onto Indiana. I've watched that traffic back up literally 2 blocks, and I am happy to meet with anyone from DOT. You have an update for me?
That's actually an issue, and James has set in a couple of meetings with DOT. They are looking at options. That is one of 3 areas that they are looking at, and I'm going to say they tested, which means they put it on a map to see what it looked like. But they looked at a roundabout, a traffic light with left turn lanes, and then a traffic light. So they're in the process of scoring that and running it through some of their systems.
Yeah.
The roundabout's not
Roundabout's not
going
gonna
to
work. That's Episcopal Days.
It actually
Yeah.
it actually works great from a carrying traffic standpoint. It's just so tight in there.
Right. Right.
So
There's no way to have.
they are looking at that right now, and that is part of an active process they are going through because they're looking at that intersection. They're looking at the what is currently the 4-way stop at Indiana and May on out.
Right.
Or not Indiana May, I'm sorry, Indiana and Fort Bragg.
And in Fort Bragg, right.
Yes.
Right, right.
And then they are looking
actually
at
works pretty
PD in 22.
Okay.
So
It just seems like, and I don't know, I don't work for DOT, and I don't know how complicated it would be, but it seems like it'd be a pretty easy test to just do a lead left turn green, a lead left turn and go straight green for the people coming from the north, I suppose.
When I talked to Ruben about it, I think his concern was the amount of time it takes to cycle through that whole light. But I have Ruben's number. I'll send it to you if you just want to call him. And
yeah, I'd love to.
It's not going to hurt to keep making recommendations.
Yeah, I would
to
love
DOT.
to call and inquire and join them at that corner to watch, particularly when school's letting out. That would be great. People are having trouble, as I did when I first moved here, about stopping for folks coming off the tracks. It's an internal problem. I don't know whether there's any signage that makes more sense, like yield to cars coming off track. I mean, I don't even know what the signs say now, but I know I almost got hit last week.
I really don't know.
It finally took my husband saying to me, you let the people come off the track. And I went, oh, okay, that makes sense. So,
Maybe
yeah.
PR campaign. Oh, she's gone.
Maybe that's a Courtney thing. Yeah, she could do a brilliant video.
most of that problem, though, is not locals.
It's
a lot of
not.
people, because it is a very unusual traffic
It's-
pattern.
It's a bizarre pattern, and I know exactly who they were. I know what business their truck was that almost barreled into me. But loud mufflers, another concern that I've been called about. I wanted to make sure that Dot Brower's concern about the speed limit in West Southern Pines down to 25 miles per hour had been reiterated. Again, I understand it's a DOT road. I also know we're looking at a 20 mile per hour speed limit in East Southern Pines, and I'd love to see the 25 that she's asking for over there.
DOT has looked at that previously, and as long as that is a 3-lane continuous section through there, that you're not going to see that reduced to 25.
Okay.
At best, you may get DOT to look at some pedestrian safety areas, kind of like you see on Morganton with a little concrete, but they are not going to be lowering that speed limit.
That could be a traffic calming measure too.
Right.
And that could help.
Yeah, good thought. So greatest hits I'd like to see in future work sessions. Number one, I've spent some time with the flyover for the changes to US 1 and 15501, and I think they're trying to do that before the US Open, and there are things that simply do not make sense to my brain, and I would like to have somebody from DOT answer a few questions if they could be invited to attend a work session and work with us and look at the flyover that, for example, has you coming down the street that runs from 1 to US 1 at the top of Lowe's Hardware, where the current plan is you can only turn right when you're coming out of there. So you can't go straight. You can only turn right, and then if you wanted to go left, you've got to go up half a mile to a turnaround where we're going to have, you and I both know, traffic backed up trying to get into the lane to turn, to do the U-turn, to turn left, and they're going to U-turn into traffic. So some of the things are ones I would like to have people explain to me. I'm also interested in, as all of us are, I think, the Knollwood sewer issue and the trees coming down, and I'd like to have someone explain to me why we can't lay the new sewer lines under the streets. I want to talk about that. I know it would be expensive. I also, yeah, you and I have chatted about that. Go ahead, talk to
And
me.
you have a memo in your packet that was part of the item of the AIA.
Yeah.
So we have gone back out. We've been able to get some cameras in and taken a look at that project. Basically, just to boil down the memo, in those instances where we have sewer lines that can be accessed from right-of-way, basically from paved streets is the general sense of that, as long as we can get to the manholes, we are not going to kind of clear cut. Now, again,
That'd be great.
different on easement across private property. And there will be instances when they get into the line and they see that there is an existing problem and or it's at the manhole, that trees will have to come out. But relative, and that's a general approach across the board moving forward.
Okay.
Relative to the Knollwood project, what that means is, as we said from the beginning, all those trees that got marked were not coming out. An awful lot of the trees that may have come out are now not likely to come out. And again, what we can't do is go through and mark, I don't know, pick a color that's not out there yet, and mark a tree and say, this one's definitely coming out, this one isn't, because some of it won't be determined until we actually get to working on those lines and see what we've got under the ground. What was my second part of that?
But I think that, I mean, I think your answer indicates that you are hearing the overriding concern from all of
Yes,
us in that regard.
absolutely.
And you're trying to find practical solutions. And
Yes.
you and I have talked about the people who have actually built a patio over the sewer line. I understand.
Yeah. Could you repeat your original question, though? Because I had a second point in that I've missed.
And why not put them in the street?
Oh.
Yeah.
The challenge with just taking and putting them in the street now. So most of that work that is to be done and the rehabilitation work that gets talked about is
It's really
is,
pretty.
is actually through relining or pipe bursting existing pipes.
You'd have to
To
tear up
put
the
it under the
street.
street, yeah, that is the equivalent of building a new system, like extending the system off into undeveloped areas right now. Except you also pick up the expense of demolishing the roadway and rebuilding the roadway on top of it.
I understand that.
So it's,
But it sounds like we've made a significant step in the right direction to scope them
we
before
absolutely
we start taking things out.
are headed in the proper direction with that,
Yeah,
yes.
thank you very much. We'll report that back. I am interested in raising, and I don't know the right way to do this, or if you want to wait just until finance meeting to do, but raising the reconnect fee to $25. I hope people join me on that. And I'm also interested in the very cheap pressure monitoring on hydrants that we were told was under $1,000. And
Yeah, I have a feeling something is going to happen with that. Again, what I think Engineer Mickle was trying to explain is he's working with Chief Cameron. We've got a very, it's an annual hydrant flushing project. I've send you all updates when it's
right.
in certain areas and things. So we just want to make sure that whatever we do, the left hand isn't hurting the right hand in what they're already doing. And,
Right.
But again, because it was $1,000, it was the type of thing that had Eddie not brought it up as part of the AIA, it would have gone into just the operational budget and we would have moved forward with it. So, but happy to report back to you on what we find and if we are able to locate a few of them or why we located them there, no problem at all.
if we could solve that, that would be great. And finally, I think the only other thing I want to say is addressed to Mr. Curtin, who's about to go to Chapel Hill and having a great experience that we've all had. And my advice to you, if you are confused, is you turn to the side and you look Mac in the eye and you say, what? And you take a little notepad and you make notes about that. And Yeah, and I also appreciate that you've brought this sort of militaristic beauty to our council meetings, since you said, let's move to the sound of the guns, and we're starting to infiltrate buildings. So all of these things, all of these things are acknowledged and appreciated. And I know you're going to infiltrate that building. I know you're going to have a wonderful,
I'm sorry.
wonderful time. And you're going with two experts. You can have Jessica on one side and Mac on the other, and you will not be confused for long. So.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to
Oh
it.
gosh, it's amazing. It's great. Yeah, those people are so smart. Yeah.
I'm simply going to follow up very quickly on that because again, we can craft the amendment to the fee schedule if council would like to see that next month as opposed to waiting for the new budget.
I would.
Need some.
I'd love to see that next month if everybody's on board.
Okay.
We're okay.
That's an easy one
Let's
to
do that
do,
and go ahead
so.
and knock it out. I think that will help the finance and water department as far as stabilizing.
Okay.
What part of what's happened to them. And with that, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I just want to say, roundtable is under 30 minutes. I think
Awesome.
that was awesome. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
I'm so allergic to this. Thank you. I have gluten intolerance. Yeah, I can't eat those. Yeah.
Do you want any other candy?
No, I ate the one I wanted.
I'll give you some.
That was very rare for me to decide to have a candy, but there was a Snickers bar looking me in the eye.
Who gave us the umbrella?